And we're live, mother lovers. Welcome back to another episode of something you might not never know nothing about. Myself, MysDiggi, my co-host, Dan DNA. How are you, brother?
Good.
Good?
Yeah.
Enjoying the cooler weather than we've having before.
It's like, I've got a jumper on
Yeah,
today.
boy.
So I have to get out the t-shirts.
Got to get the long johns out now, bruv.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
We're back into English weather. We had a good October, though, man. Like, you know, as much as people, it's getting cold now. It's like, yo, we're lucky, man. We're lucky. It was hot. You know
all
what I mean?
that spooky Halloween stuff always brings in, like, it's literally the crossover period of like the light and the dark. Ain't it?
I feel like it's the
they
fireworks.
set the clock, didn't they, as well?
Yeah.
They do that thing. They set the clock, and then suddenly you get up and you're
the
like,
clock's
"What's going on?" And then it gets to 4 o'clock, and you're like, "Why is it so dark?"
Yeah. That's when they're like, they want you to know it's winter now.
Yeah, it's just
You are in hell.
spooky time and stuff.
Yeah. It's all good though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We stay warm out here. Shout out to the common sensors in the building already. We appreciate each and every one of you, each and every time, mother lovers. Shout out to Turbo Tubalicious, Daniel Corey. Big up your more. Yeah, man. All the crew locked in right about now. Listen, man. We had a good one last week. Chatting with Apex Zero. He went in on the drummer, warrior, storyteller album. Broke it down. We got to learn a bit more about him as well as an artist. And the show apparently was amazing. I got there a bit late. You know what I mean? I do apologize. I saw him anyway. I told him I got there a bit late. But apparently there's going to be more because it went that well. But I got there for the after party. And just off the back of that, I could tell that it was a good vibe, good energy. I saw Johnsy D down there. And a few, I saw Logic. Shout out to Big Cakes. And a bunch of other people, man. So, yeah, that was fun. But yeah, it was a mad weekend. But yeah, go and check out that last episode. It's very interesting chatting to him about, you know, how he's come about with what he's doing, which was basically like a live performance of his album. But not just like, you know, performing with a DJ and whatnot. It's like actually a theatrical performance. So there's a lot of dancing going on, a lot of choreography, lighting, live drumming and whatnot.
It's always good to, with someone like Apex Zero as well, is you don't really know, you know, it's not where you're going to read the origin story of Apex Zero.
Yeah.
It's always sort of nice to sit down with them and just get out all of the origin stuff. You know?
Yes.
It's surprising to hear he's just from down the road. Didn't even touch on it again with him. But,
I know, it's crazy.
I'll see him again, I'll talk about him.
Yeah, for sure, man.
That was very weird,
Yeah, that was good though, man. So shout out to Harry Love on the weekend. I got to see him on Friday at his birthday thing down at Bar Love. And that was cool, man. Good to catch up. We're going to get him on the show soon to break that. Because he was breaking down a lot of memories that, you know, there's so much stuff I can't remember, man, because it's like all so far gone. But it was really good chat with him. So we'll get him down. You know what I mean? All you UK hip-hop heads who love that old school chat, man, you'll definitely enjoy that one. So, yeah, big up all the crew that enjoyed that was locked in. Tonight, though, you know, it's going to get deep. You know what I mean? We got our brother Vinnie B coming up. And we're going to, chit-chat. We're going to catch up on the sort of review the show that we did with Clint Richardson because there was a lot of deep stuff in that. And then get into some other bits and bobs that you might not never know nothing about. But before we go there, we got to give a shout out to the connoisseursuk.com. Make sure you get any products you need that involve the magical substance of CBD. You know what I mean? This substance right here, it is something spectacular. I've been taking these CBD gummies before I go to sleep, bruv. I'll sleep for I might do like 6 hours or something like that. Wake up like I've had 9-10 hours. Be like, what? Yeah, I'm thinking, right, I'm only okay, let me get some more sleep. Like, nah, I'm good. Body's like, nah, you're good, bruv. I'm CBD'd up. Like, you better somersault out of bed, you know what I mean? Them ones, you all warmed up. You know, I do my stretches. I'm already warmed up. I ain't even got to shake about and do all the warming. I'm like, bruv, I'm ready. CBD is amazing, man. It can help with things like epilepsy, pain, arthritis, anxiety, depression, sleeping disorders, acne, Parkinson's disease, nausea, and vomiting. So, you know, when you're watching MMA, Dan, take CBD gummies. Have a little CBD spray from Connoisseurs UK. It might help you out, man. They've got different types of oils, chocolates and whatnot. Obviously, the chocolate stirrers. You know what I mean? I can't leave out the chocolate stirrers. They are very magical. And you can get either full spectrum products, or you can get like just the indica side, or just the sativa side. Do you remember which is which, Dan?
Yeah, indica is when it's a bit more chilled, leaning back in the car.
Leaning back. And then just
sativa is when you're just like fucking annoying me.
Like,
when you're out with me talking non-stop.
That's what you're looking at me like, and I'm like, that's a sativa strain. Yeah. Hands on it, boy. He's like, fuck, he's fluffing at the mouth. Yeah, that's definitely a sativa strain.
It's 2:00. What the fuck are you still talking for?
Yeah. Like, yo, this dude had 2.5 coffees. Some shit, man. Yeah. But CBD can also help you with, as we said, if you've got anxiety, it can help you calm down. It can help you relax. And don't worry, there's no THC in it, so you won't get any of that psychoactive element that might make you trip out. Some people really do trip out when they smoke, man. It's like, yo, dude, man. I never had one puff. What was that? They have 1 or 2 puffs. What is that? And then bam. That's it. They go, yeah, you see the sweat just be it's not like the 1B the sweat. That's the nervous sweat. The 1B the sweat. Yeah. When someone's about to have the whitey, when they're about to see that,
yeah. Just like little beads of sweat, just like
he's like, yo, something's going on over there. yeah, get him some glucose, boy. Get him some sugar water. So yeah, man, hit up Canisters UK for any of your CBD products. And once you get to the counter, you can type in the acronym, of course, SYMNNKNA. That's SYMK. Huh? SYMNNKNA. Simna. The K is silent.
Simna.
When you use proper English, Dan. And you get yourself 20% off any order from Canisters UK. So make sure you lot do that, man. Shout out to the Sam and the crew as well, man, for always supplying us with the proper products, man. Right. Let's get our guest in, man, because we've already been chatting before we started, and boy, there's so many things.
That's why we're late
to tuck into. Yeah,
we've already done about half an hour of talking.
Hey, let's get some fire emojis for our brother from another borough. Bronx, you know what I mean? Shout out to Vinnie B. What's going on, bruv? Good to see you again, man. Boy.
I wanted to say too, your the CBD oil. I actually I'm a big supporter of it too. I to give a little testimony for me. I personally used it. It helped me a lot. I was actually blacking out. I Amanda Vollmer, probably, right?
Yeah, she's wicked.
I talked to her a little bit about it. I'll mention it for your audience too. But
blacking out.
A couple months ago, I was literally like blacking out. Like I would just wake up on the floor, blacked out.
Serious?
Pee myself. I wake up in a puddle of pee, blacked out, wondering what just happened, and I had no idea what was going on. The medical industry, like me and they don't know the truth. I knew that they weren't going to give me any answers, but so many people were worried. So I was like, fine, I'll at least take like a CAT scan, see if there's like a physical problem with me, which there wasn't. And they themselves admitted they don't know still to this day. Science can't tell us what causes seizures. They don't have a real explanation. So to me, me, I go with like the Dawn and David type and terrain theory and things like that. So to me, it was more like a stress thing I was going through with my daughter having to take shots and things with courts with my ex. So I think a lot of stress is what was causing it for me. But again, no science can't give me an answer. They're not going to give you guys an answer either.
It's hard.
CBD oil was actually the only thing I went and did, and I stopped because I didn't know if it was seizures or what it was. To me, I just fainted, and And people would tell me like my eyes weren't rolling back. I wasn't foaming at the mouth. So I was like, maybe it's not a seizure, but the doctors and a lot of people try and tell me that they were seizures. So right away I thought of CBD oil, and I haven't had one since, for months now. So,
oh wow, see it there. So yeah, there's definitely something to it. I mean, they say they use it for pets as well. I've seen people use it for dogs that have seizures or that have some form of, like muscular something where they have spasms or whatever, and it eases it. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense, man.
Was people with like you said, neurological damage or cerebral palsy type of seizures and stuff. So I do full spectrum. I heard you saying how they mentioned and indica is the body high, sativa is the mental high. More. But I like the way Dan described it. The way Dan described it was good.
That's my
spectrum.
Yeah, I had to give him that so he could remember. Like in the car, you think of in the car. You know what I mean? You lean back like, yo, man. So that's the body high. Your whole body's like, yo, I can't move it. You know what I mean? Like the zoots in the ashtray, you're like, I can't even, bro, pass me the joint because I can't even pick up my hands right now. And then the sativa's like, yeah, bro. Anyway, so what about it? And you're smoking one whilst rolling one. It's like
that's my little mnemonic that you've given me to like remember it.
Yeah, man. But
so I don't make an idiot of myself.
I swear, when you're out in Amsterdam, everyone else, do you smoke? No, I don't. I'm just. But that's the thing, man. Like I definitely swear by the CBD products because, boy, there's so many things where I couldn't believe. How like even like joint pain from working out or whatever, whether it be like muscular pain from like when you obviously when the more you work your muscles, the more they ache sort of thing. They call it was it delayed onset? Was it Dom?
Muscle soreness.
Yeah, muscle soreness. And so that will bam, you can slap on CBD oil and that's just gone in a few hours. You're like, what? Like what? What is going on here? Do you know what I mean? It's crazy.
And like you said, you sleep better. You definitely seem like you had a better sleep.
Definitely.
And my mind felt sharper. I felt like it wasn't as cloudy. Like I felt more on point with the CBD. And like you said, you don't get high from it.
No.
But I felt more sharp.
Yeah. I think I'm definitely with you on that. It's interesting. Like there is CBD that can get you like you want to go sleep. Basically, you have a bit of it, and then it's that strong, but it's not. It's not on the psychoactive vibe. Do you know what I mean? It's weird, but you'll definitely be like,
is it that like Delta 9 or something?
Yeah,
Delta 9
yeah. See, But Dan knows about Delta 9.
Yeah,
you heard about it. You heard about it. Dan Dolph.
Yeah.
Jeez, man. So yeah, Vinny, man. We want to thank you. Thank you
about that.
Thank you for coming on the show. Always we appreciate, man, the information that you managed to get across over to us and linking us up with Clint Richardson, man. That was a fun interview that we had with him.
That was a great show, man. Both you guys did great, and Clint killed it, man.
Yeah,
I was so impressed. I mean, I've heard Clint before, but I don't know what it was, but I just feel like he crushed it, like on the show. Like,
he can go in.
I talked to him after the show, and he talked about how great he felt with you guys, how much he enjoyed you, the host.
Wicked.
He felt at home. He had a good time. So,
that's good, man.
Wicked.
I
think that was a great show.
Thanks for that, man.
I even learned some stuff in that. I was like, oh, wow, I never heard that. Like, the one where he was talking about the bloodlines. That's what I was like, oh, Clint, I didn't know you were going to go there.
That was out of the blue.
And I didn't know he was going into the bloodlines.
Well, it's the thing of like why what I really liked is how he put it across that, the world that we see, like everything we see on the screens and, on the papers and, here on the radio or whatever is all sort of just a made up world. You know what I mean? Like the Matrix in a way. And then you're like, all right, what do you mean by that? Because people always say that. But then when he's like, okay, for instance, all the presidents are all related. I was like, what? And he's not gonna just say that. He's a very prideful guy about the information that he puts out there. So, you know what I mean? But you could look it up, and there are people that have done it. There's endless people that have done it. You can see it on
My buddy Fritz Brigmeyer.
Yeah.
He's the guy who broke this down. That's why I even
Mm.
told Clint after the show, I was like, I didn't know you were into Bloodlines. I'm like best friends with Fritz Brigmeyer, and like, this is what I've been into for a long time, getting into the Bloodlines.
So Clint gave us the idea that all the the presidents are all basically like 10, what would you say, 10 removed cousins, but like
yeah, they're
10
most
cousins
of them are
or whatever,
than that.
and then basically how they get elected is or how they get selected, I should say, is whoever's got more of that bloodline. So can you break down what is that bloodline then? For people that are like, what are you talking about? What is that, or whose bloodline is it?
So yeah, for people who don't know nothing about this, the first thing I would recommend is looking into Fritz Brigmeyer's book called Illuminati Bloodlines. He was the first guy to really make this, go mainstream, I guess, to where this information came out in the 90s because of his book. And me and Fritz, we joke because, Fritz went to jail for, I think it was like 8 or 9 years.
What did he go to jail for?
So when they set him, he didn't do anything. There was like some guys who robbed a bank, and they said he knew these guys, so they threw him in jail for 8-9 years. The court case also, if you look into it, you could see the judge and them were clearly not following the law, and Fritz got railroaded. Clearly, he was dangerous, this information he was putting out. And me and him, I've said it publicly too, I think it was more the second book he wrote, which was called How to Create an Undetectable Illuminati Mind Control Slave. I know it was a long one. It's like your show, a long title, to remember. Yeah. But it was that book was going into how, like Kathy O'Brien and a lot of these people, how they're victimized and traumatized and created into these basically alter egos and these characters. And so a lot of this stuff started with Fritz Brigmeyer in the 90s. And then we joked because back when Obama became president, so this is probably about 2007 or 8, there was a girl that like the TV, like mainstream media here in America, had like this little girl. I don't know if she was like 9 years old or 12 years old, the oldest.
She got in the Guinness Book of Records or something, in it.
And she's like, and she was, no, it was like she was doing some class, like she was looking into genealogy. And I think using, ancestry.com and looking into genealogy as like a school project, and just happened to stumble across how all the presidents are related. And the news pushed this, and me and Fritz talk about it. It's like, they don't even hide the fact anymore. They kind of, will let like this little girl or other people let it out there. So nobody's like really looking into it as much as like someone like Fritz Brigmeyer, who was talking about this in the 90s and really breaking down deep who these families are and what's going on. But, they got no problem with like a 12-year-old girl, being like, oh, by accident, I realized that, Obama's related to, Brad Pitt and George Bush and Madonna. And, and again, it's so easy right now with Ancestry and things like you said, but to do it back then, how did Fritz do that, right?
Yeah.
For people who don't know about Fritz, and if you're wondering, well, how did this guy in the 90s do it? Fritz was a Christian. You can find a lot of his stuff still on Prophecy Club from the 90s. And he was basically these people that were a part of it, like Kathy O'Brien. To me, John Todd is someone we're definitely going to have to talk about a little. And some of these people were going to try to get out of this witchcraft, Satanism, and they were trying to become Christians. And Fritz Brigmeyer was helping these people. And this is how Fritz Brigmeyer got most of his information was literally from these people. John Todd, they ended up framing, saying I think he molested or raped an underage girl. They sent him to jail, and he was never heard of again. Like I said, Fritz did 9 years. He came out. He went on the Alex Jones show, and then he came on my show, and we've been friends ever since. I got a lot of respect for Fritz. I think he's an amazing guy. He's the real deal. And for people who want to get into bloodlines of the Illuminati and what we're going to talk about a little bit, the first thing I would recommend is start looking into Fritz Brigmeyer's book. He'll give you a lot more detail than I could just do right now off the top of my head for you guys.
Fritz Brigmeyer. It's an interesting name.
Yeah. Right when you were doing the Clint show, a couple days before that, I was on Killer Priest show, and I brought Fritz with me, and we got to do a little bit of it. He didn't get too much into the bloodlines. He was more talking about Russia and stuff going on now and other stuff. But he's the guy, and I would tell people to go check that out.
So you're saying that he was semi involved with because like that Todd guy and Kathy, you said they were actually involved. So was Sprigg in some way involved in it as well, and then kind of detached himself?
No, that's the thing. He wasn't like Kathy O'Brien and John Todd. I think a lot of people probably know Kathy O'Brien because she's still around doing stuff. But John Todd, for people who might not know, John Todd was literally like the guy in charge of a company called Zodiac Productions. And at the time, all of the rock concerts, all of them went through this company. It's almost like what later became like Ticketmaster, and I don't know what it is now, but there's like these conglomerates that all the rock industry, all the concerts come through this company. And John Todd was literally the guy running it. He was literally like best friends with Crosby, Stills and Nash. That rock group. Who was the other ones? There was Elton John. He would talk about a lot. Blue Oyster Cult. He was explaining that their whole symbol with the upside down cross with a hook on it. He was exposing like the people he was friends with, the people he was working with. He exposed this whole thing. He was the guy who was explaining about the backward masking. Like nowadays, most people like, oh yeah, I heard, if you play the Beatles backwards or you play this backwards, that was John Todd again, was exposing the rock industry. And he came out and became a born again Christian. So he went around preaching to Christians saying, this is what's going on. This is what the rock industry and who the Masons and my family is. And, to all the Kanye West fans out there, John Todd said, I don't know why they keep saying the Jews run the world. My family's not Jewish. I'm Irish. So John Todd also said the Jews don't run the world. These witches do. A lot of them happen to be Irish. But there's all types of, there's a lot of Italian, there's English, there's Irish, Scottish, there's everything. There's Chinese, there's Africans, there's everybody involved. Yeah. It's not a Jewish conspiracy. And John Todd, like I said, he was blonde hair, which a lot of these people, when you look into this bloodline that we're going to get into, right? And why all these presidents and everyone related. I mean, a lot of these people are blonde hair, blue eyes. We got to be honest about it. And all of them are Irish descent.
Is it?
I think every president since Kennedy, except for, I think Ford was, I think, German. He was the only one that wasn't Irish. But basically all of them are Irish.
What? Okay, so I've just remembered now. Clint was saying that they all go back to Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah, I think that's in Fritz's book, I believe that's the Merovingian dynasty, the most powerful. It's more of a French, the French are the big ones now, like the Priory of Sion. That's that bloodline. They're definitely one of the most powerful bloodlines in the world. But he gets into, there's, about 12, 13 of these top bloodlines. But you know, these are big bloodlines. So let's say he would talk about who was the one
Is it
Gray. So there was someone, there's the Gray. He'll talk about like the Gray bloodline, Gray. But Gray is also, you know, a while ago the Reynolds came out of that. So the Reynolds are also involved in it. So you see what I mean? Like some of these bloodlines kind of spread out.
Yeah.
But he does a great job trying to piece it together.
And
But
so is he going
yeah,
back?
I would say the Merovingian bloodline he describes as probably being the most powerful out of these families, which seems to be a French family, and most of these people are blonde hair, blue eyes. You know, I remember George Bush is related to Lawrence of Arabia. He's related to William the Conqueror.
What?
He's related to a lot of people in Europe. So, you know, these people that are running America are literally no different than like the Queen of England and these, you know, these families that we see in Europe. So, yeah, there was these families that were coming here. John Todd talks about, you know, they were witches, and he was taught the opposite. You know, that they were burning Christians. It wasn't Christians burning witches. It was witches burning Christians.
Oh
he was taught
God.
all these different stories by his family and how his family. So here's a crazy story about John Todd for people who might be wondering how much power could this guy have. Well, if you found out about John Todd, he was in the Vietnam War. He went and he was, you know, doing a lot of cocaine and drugs out there. And I guess one night he's so messed up out of his mind, he ends up killing his officer above him. It was a guy ranked higher than him, sergeant or whatever. He literally killed him, and they arrested John Todd. And he was, you know, if any one of us here, like you, me, or Dan, did that, you know, you'd be facing some serious time in prison. You know, you could be held for treason, all types of things. In America, you'd be sent to Leavenworth. So John Todd's basically in a lot of trouble, and he calls his mom. He says, this is when he first realized how much power the power that the family has. So he calls up in his mom and he's like, yeah, Mom, I'm in a lot of trouble right now. You know, what could you do? Like, you know, do we have anybody here that could help me out? And the mom right away was like, yeah, we run the military. Don't worry, we got the military. And he was like, what? Like the military? And she was like, oh yeah, you know, we run that too. And they pulled some strings, and John Todd didn't get any trouble and was let out.
Wow.
He was given Zodiac Productions. He talks about this too. I think it's important. Like we look at some of these people like a Bill Gates, and people like, oh, you know, they went to school and they worked hard. No, these people are given it. These family members, these bloodline members,
nepotism.
They're given these positions. They didn't, like, you know, invent IBM. They're just put in charge. You know what I mean? They're given a job. And John Todd was talking about this. He was like, I used to have to just give money to people I didn't even know. You know, he just took orders. You know, and that's who most of these people are. You know, they're in positions of power because they're a part of the bloodline, and they're doing what they're told. You know what I mean? So if you do that, you could be like Bill Gates and these people, and oh yeah, you know, he invented IBM. He's one of the most richest men in the world. Blah, blah. You know, it's all nonsense. It's because of who Bill Gates' daddy was and his agenda, and you know, he's pushing their agenda. So that's why he does so good. You could have family members like, let's say, Princess Diana, that you probably all know a lot about, and Princess Diana was clearly the bloodline, even more than Charles, right? And
so how does that work then? When you're saying that, because
well, because I don't think it's fully like Clint said, where it's like whoever has the most bloodline is the guy who wins. I think it's, you know, the bloodline matters. That's where they're farming, where they're farming their players from is from their families, but it's really down to who's the biggest sellout, who's the biggest bootlicker, as I like to call it, who's going to push the agenda, who's really for it. So when you got Bill Gates, who has no problem going and creating genocide in Africa or wherever, he's seen, as a good part of the team, and he's going to be given a lot. I don't think it's because his bloodline's any more pure. You see what I'm saying? It's the bloodlines matter, but they also still have to make sure, because there's good people like Diana. Diana never fit in with these people. She always openly talked about it. She did not feel like she fit in with these people. She was a good person who had a good heart, probably, wanted was happy being in love with that Arab guy who was also a billionaire and very powerful. It's not like she left him for some guy at McDonald's, you know what I mean? It was like the guy was still a pretty powerful dude, but it was still an insult. It was still no way you're going to let our bloodline mix with that bloodline. Yeah. And it was all about that to me. They were not going to let her have a baby with an Arab, that's outside of their bloodline.
Yeah, that's what you're more.
The bloodline is real, there's a lot of truth to the bloodline stuff. A lot of evidence.
One of our comment sensors, Yamor, she's saying it will be who's the most compliant to do their bidding. Cheesy's saying exactly.
Yeah.
Shout out to King Chico, big up to Gleam in the building. Yeah, and I guess it makes sense in that way. And what you said, and that, what made me point that out was that what you said about the fact that, so he goes and does that, and then bam, they're like, okay, look, yeah, he's doing well. Because he's also publicly doing it. Is that the idea?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's they're going to promote you also, and they're going to take care of you. You're allowed to go to Epstein Island like Donald Trump, like Bill Gates, like a lot of these guys who aren't in trouble for it, right? So the blood, it's almost like masonry. We get into masonry real quick. I've met people where their families are generational Masons, and they're very powerful families because they're part of this bloodline, right? And most of these people, just to get it out there, blonde hair, blue eyes. But then there's also the people that aren't bloodlines that become Masons, right? Like Michael Jordan or someone, or Shaquille O'Neal, right, is a Mason, but is Shaquille O'Neal the bloodline Mason from Europe?
Okay,
no,
so
his family hasn't been. What?
Yeah, okay, but what I was going to ask is, so there's the notion of like all the sort of Moors and Sephardic Jews that came over or went over to America from Europe back then, and the idea of what they look like and blah blah blah. So how does that work then? Because there are some people that say they're of the same bloodline that you're talking, like it's actually all a mix up, and then it's sort of been cleaned out in their sense of like, all right, now you're pure blood.
I do agree with that, and you're probably talking about maybe some of the work that like Kamiru and some people are doing on those subjects, right? I agree with it, but there has been a whitening out of this bloodline. Yeah. I mean, clearly we're not looking at that now, are we? When we look at the Queen of England and we look at these people that are ruling, they, like I said, seem to be blonde hair, blue eyes. So, what did they breed themselves out? Like, it doesn't make sense to me, that they would like breed themselves out.
That's the part that's confusing, and I guess like
to me, we should just get into a little bit, like we'll go into the little hat big hat thing real quick, right?
Okay. Be careful with that.
Yeah. So this is how I see it, right? Especially with this Kanye West thing that happened, a lot of people right away coming to me. oh, Vinny, you see, he's talking about the Jews and he gets in trouble and he lost this, he lost that, and the Jews do this, the Jews do that. Well, not to get back to, what I've talked about in the past, but who are the real Jews? We won't even go there. But
it's the Welsh.
The Jews that we see now, I mean, the reason they do good is because they're all together in a large group. It goes back to where we talk about what could we do? It's strength in numbers, right? So the fact that these people are all together, I mean, I could talk about a place in New York where I was living, and the whole town basically changed because Hasidic Jews basically took over, right? And all the people moved out and the Hasidic Jews moved in. And everybody says, see, the Jews, they need the Jews, they took over. And I'm like, but look at what they have, like they're not ruling. Okay, what they are is they're really good at wherever they go, doing what they can to fit in, to follow the laws and do good. They have these big voting, like they're so together. So whoever they vote is going to be the one who wins in the politics. So they were getting what they want, and they make it like it's a Jewish conspiracy with stuff like that. And I'm like, it's really not, and again, if these people are ruling the world, like they wouldn't be living in my neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? Like they living in just regular houses. They got their kids. They're pushing in the little carts around. They're not ruling anything.
No, they'd be living in another. They'd be living in someone else's country in the Middle East. Yeah. Oh no, they are doing that. Oh, I'm only joking. But they do good. Where they go, they learn how the system is, and they learn how to play it. So they do good in a lot of places. They do. But to say that they run the game, that I will argue, and there's lots of evidence to prove, like I keep trying to do on here and other shows, that all roads lead to Rome, and the Catholic Church owns everything, and the Jews don't have anything unless they do what the Catholic Church tells them to do. Okay, so even like here in America isn't run by Jews. The Supreme Court is run by Roman Catholics. There are free Jews in the Supreme Court.
Are not Jewish. They're what?
There are free Jews in the Supreme Court.
There's 3, but there's like 5
only 2%.
Roman Catholics.
There's only 2% of the population of America is Jewish, so they are disproportionately represented in the Supreme Court.
Well, the Roman Catholics. Okay, well, what about the colleges, Dan? Where are all the big Jewish colleges that all the presidents and everybody are going to? Or are they Roman Catholic?
No, but if you was running things, you probably would want to present yourself as not being the target. I suppose that's maybe what people would say. Is that if you was in charge, if you wanted to sort of, because I think that the conspiracy is that they run things behind the scenes. It's not that they're sort of running things out.
But think about it. Behind the scenes, even as a child, I'd hear people say it's the Jews. My whole life, I've heard it's the Jews.
I'm just saying what people would say. That's what people probably would say, is that they would do it behind the scenes if they was going to do it.
No, but you're right. And so who's the one behind the scenes that nobody's ever heard of? I mean, I still to this day, I bring up the word Jesuit, and people are like, who?
Oh yeah, right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So who's the one who's hidden more? Nobody even knows this stuff. Nobody knows that, Fordham University, that Trump and all them, the Jesuit university. Nobody knows that Google was, September 27th, and it all has to do with the Jesuits. The CIA, the MI5, they're all controlled by the Jesuits, not Jews, Are there Jews that are powerful? Yeah. But like I said, there's lots of different races. And honestly, if we have to pick one race that seems to have the power, again, all these presidents are Irish. A lot of this stuff goes back to Irish people. So, I see the Irish, like John Todd.
You won't get arrested for saying that the Irish are running the world, though, will you? You would if you said.
But okay, so let's. So John Todd, his family
is the Collins family, right? And back then there was a big soap opera. It was called like Dark Shadows or something like that. And again, this was his family. And still to this day, I'm seeing movies and it'll say Collins. There's still like most of Hollywood is run by this Irish, and he's Irish. He's not Jewish, you know? To me,
Hollywood isn't run
again,
by
like
the Irish.
Hollywood's
Hollywood's most definitely.
Irish.
Yeah.
If we're gonna pick a race, I would say that the Irish have more power than Jews and other races here.
The Irish would probably disagree with you about that, I reckon. Seeing as they've only just literally got out of the yoke of another country that they was fighting for, you know, freedom from. So I think they probably feel like they weren't really in a position of having much power.
That's why I'm saying that I don't think that it is a bloodline, a racial thing. I don't think it's the Irish or the Jews or Italians.
Right. Okay, right, got you.
It's the Catholic Church.
Right.
And they will use any race, any color, any sex. It doesn't matter. If you will push the agenda, then you could be a part of the club. You know? So yeah, these people are related, but they also still have to push the agenda. Because look at Kennedy, right? Kennedy's another one we could bring up. Kennedy's clearly the bloodline, you know, from his father. And the Kennedy's family is still a big family to this day. You know, what's his name? Clinton Richardson, he talks about 1913 with the Federal Reserve Act. You guys know, for stuff people might not know nothing about, that started on the Kennedys owned an island called Jekyll Island, where this was created.
See,
People might have heard the book, The Creature from Jekyll Island.
Yeah,
right?
but see, with that, Clint would disagree with that whole Jekyll. He'd disagree with that whole Jekyll
Island. That was owned by the
thing.
Kennedys.
You know,
Who does?
Clint, he's saying that that stuff is all just because he's saying that the Federal Reserve is actually owned through investments and, you know, all them funding schemes via the government. It's owned by, you know, the banking system, which is the government, and blah, blah, blah. So he's saying that, you know, the Jekyll Island thing was just something made up just to keep people off track of that. That's actually Clint was talking about that. So
and I'm just saying that Jekyll Island was owned by the Kennedys.
Okay.
That's all I'm bringing out is, again, showing you the power of the Kennedys, right? They're clearly one of these bloodlines, like George Bush and these other families that have all this power. And but Kennedy got shot in his face in front of everyone, didn't he? Right? They made sure they had a guy there recording so they could show the whole world how they just blew the American president's head off. Right? And that was, again, what? To show that we could kill the American president right in front of the whole world, and ain't nobody going to get in trouble for it. And that's literally what happened, you know? So Kennedy proves that, you know, some of these people can, you know, be good people that want to do good, you know, that find out about something and don't want to push the agenda, you know? That's why, like, even Masonry, there's so many degrees, there's so many rituals, there's so much that they're doing to test people to see how much they can give you, how far are they willing to take you. You know what I mean? When they find a person who just does what they're told on command, like a Bill Gates, a Dr. Fauci, or these people, they're going to be like, all right, you know, because they're going to help the agenda. They're not going to have to worry about maybe shooting them or having to kill them or having to, you know, do a cover up because they came out, you know. So
this would be, considering the whole bloodline thing, this will be their own family that they're willing to kill then.
Yeah, I mean, Kennedy, obviously, I mean, his wife has to know. Here it is, you know, I don't know what you guys were told, but here in America, everybody's told the lie that Jacqueline was, you know, in shock that she'd seen his head blown off. So she was trying to, like, get his brain to put back in and, you know, nonsense. What it was is the limo driver, this was exposed by Bill Cooper. I seen the real videotape that Bill Cooper stole and had it edited to show you the limo driver do the finishing shot. The limo driver who's driving, William Greer, 33rd degree Freemason, he takes the car to a complete stop almost, which again is the complete opposite of what Secret Service should have did. Shots are coming in at the president. You step on the gas and you get out of there. You don't come to a complete stop. That's one. Then when it comes to a complete stop, he turns around. And in Bill Cooper's video, you could see the gun because it wasn't edited out yet. They edited out the Zabruta film before they released it to the public. In the original, you could clearly see the gun. And that's why Kennedy's head goes like this, back this way. Why would your head wouldn't get blown backwards if the bullet was coming from behind you? His head would have got pushed forward. His head got pushed back and to the right because the bullet came from the limo driver. It makes perfect sense. It shows, lines up with physics. And the back of his head comes out that way. So what happens is Jackie Onassis clearly has to see this, right? So what does she do? The first instinct is get out of the car. And that's what she was trying to do. The first instinct was, I got to get out of here before I'm killed. And then the Secret Service shoves her back in the car. And then they drive off, right? And Jackie to this day isn't going to talk about her husband being killed, right? Because what would happen? They'd kill her kids. They'd kill her. This is how they operate. And they got no problem killing family members. I mean, some of these people do sacrifices, will sacrifice their family member just for riches, So, if someone doesn't follow the line and they could jeopardize the game like Kennedy was doing. And who was Kennedy going after? It wasn't Jews, it was the CIA. Catholics in action over there, the Jesuits, with the CIA. He didn't want the war with Cuba. He pissed off a lot of people. But the number one was the CIA. Kennedy made it clear that he was going to abolish the CIA. He fired Allen Dulles. That was his death warrant. So they'll kill their own family, to answer your question. They'll kill Diana, they'll kill Kennedy.
So, all right, so you were going to answer like what I was asking about the whole, whether sort of mix up with whether it's the Moors or whoever that is, the bloodline and whatnot. Before we don't want to get into that debate. We'll save that for another show.
I could say this again to touch a little on it. It would make sense that these people who were the merchants were doing good, and probably were the ones who were initiating a lot of the sea going and the trade going on, It might have even been that a lot of this was set up by these people a while ago. But what we're living right now isn't what it was back then. And the people in charge right now, I'm not exactly sure are the same as these Sephardic Jews that Kamiru and some of these people are talking about. Because it seems like they've been kind of bred out. And where is it in America? That it's still the same families as the Europeans. It's still this bloodline. George Bush and all these people, they don't look like Jews to me. You know
Obama,
what I'm saying?
Neither did Obama though, or what's his name? Who are those people? What's his name? Colin Powell and
Oh yeah, but I mean,
Condoleezza Rice.
They weren't. I mean, they were just
Kanye.
They were low level. You know what I'm saying? Colin Powell wasn't the president. You know what I mean? And he probably, a lot of these people do have ties to it also because, like I said, there's been so much intermixing. Like Obama. Everybody's acts like, Obama, first black president. Obama's Irish. He's more Irish than black. Let's just be honest. His mom is Irish. He was raised by his Irish grandmother. There's rumors to who his daddy is. People argue still over who his real dad could be. Is it Frank Marshall? Is it this guy? I mean, he's Irish too. You know what I mean? Why are we not talking about his Irish mom, his Irish grandma, and how he was raised by Irish people? But right away people are like, oh, he's black. But isn't Obama? There's been a lot of intermixing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But Fritz Bregmeyer and people could show that the American presidents and all these people are related. And what are the odds of that? It's not possible that could randomly happen. You know what I'm saying? Like all the people, the billions of people out there, and it's just this same family that ruling all these places. The odds of that are just, you know, it's not, it couldn't be just natural, you know?
So was he digging
this has to be
into,
a conspiracy.
was he digging into like public records and things like that to find this out at that sort of time?
Later on, yeah, they got a lot of evidence from that. Yeah. And it was these families helping them, just like Kathy O'Brien and these people. They were being groomed. I mean, Kathy O'Brien, she said some crazy stuff about Hillary Clinton and some of these people. Like, I mean, I don't even want to talk about some of the disgusting things that Hillary and them were doing to Kathy O'Brien. You know, so a lot of it is coming from these families because a lot of this isn't mainstream, or it wasn't back then. So it's these families that were letting Fritz know this stuff. Fritz did a lot of research himself to verify things, but a lot of it came from these families, and then people start researching, and then you start seeing it connected. Just like I said, some 12-year-old girl in America was on TV pointing out that all the presidents are related. And then they were pointing, like even throwing in like Brad Pitt, you know, to make it cute. Brad Pitt, Madonna, Obama's related to this one, that one. He's related to Dick. He was related to Dick Cheney. That's right. Yeah. He's related to Dick, like a second cousin to Dick Cheney. It's like, what are the odds of this?
Apparently,
you know, it can't be.
Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt.
Angelina Jolie, who works for the UN. Come on. I mean, why does Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt work for the UN? Aren't you actors? No, they're clearly, you know, more important. They come from, you know, certain families. And we gotta understand that a lot of these musicians and actors are really nothing more than this family letting their children have positions of power. You know, I'm like convinced that most of these big superstar actors and people were given fake names. Like these aren't even their real names, you know, because they don't want you to know how they're all related. Even like some small group recently, the Strokes. It's like a alternative rock group, the Strokes. And all of a sudden I find out the singer's like dad's like some billionaire like this. And it's like, no wonder like that these people are the ones we heard about. I mean, MysDiggi, you could make the greatest rap songs ever, right? But you ain't ever going to be played at the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You ain't ever going to be played at Yankee Stadium. You ain't going to be like given that platform. You know what I mean? Because it's not based on talent at that high level. It's based on like that, like one you guys in the audience was saying, on how much bootlicking you do, how much of a sellout you are. That's what it's based on for them. You know,
how much of a puppet you can be.
Push the agenda. You got to push that agenda. You know, and now Kanye, I don't know what's up with Kanye. I mean, this could be all stage 2 for all we know, because like we talked about before, I mean, Kanye got pretty high up there. I mean, Kanye is a big star. Yeah. And how did you get there is, you know, what a lot of us wonder. Because we know you can't get there without selling out somehow. You know what I mean? So, is this just part of the, you know, them to bread and circus, get us all focusing on this? Again, the Jews being blamed. Is it that, or is it genuine that Kanye is like coming out? I mean, I guess we got to say that's possible too.
Is he unplugged? Is he
just
unplugged
like it's possible that John F. Kennedy and Diana and people go against people, their family and what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, I guess the weird thing about it all is when, like you said, you just mentioned just a couple names of like people that have tried to speak out publicly, try to do things on a public level, and then, you know, stuff happens to them. So you wonder, this isn't the first time that he said some outrageous stuff either, or done some outrageous stuff, but he's still about. You know what I mean? He does this, He's still about, and God forbid, you know what I mean, anything happen, because we don't know the situation. Like, but I'm saying that's the part that obviously does make you wonder, like, the people that do speak out, and then they, you know, like you mentioned B.O.B. before and people like that, and then they just go quiet, and you're like, oh, okay, maybe they're like, yeah, you know what, as long as I stay out the limelight, I'm good. But then when you keep on doing this, and especially whenever you've got a new line coming out, let's just put that out there, all the way in the background, people forgetting that he's got either an album to sell or a new line of clothing coming out, or, you know, something to promote as well. It just so happens. You know, that's the part that leaves you questioning, okay, is he for real or not? Do you know what I mean? And like our friend was saying, Clint was saying, don't, you know, you shouldn't worship any persons, no false titles, this, that, and the third. That's the part that I think we should all focus on as well. Is like, okay, regardless of what he's saying, whether you agree or not, don't let your emotion get too attached to it, because you still don't know anyway what's going on, you know. But yeah, that is a funny part about it all. I think so what we saying then, the Kardashians are in the bloodline as well? That's what's going on? Are they part of this?
Yeah, well, their father's a big time Mason. He was connected to the O.J. Simpson trial. He was you know, he was one of the lawyers with Johnny Cochran.
Lawyer, yeah. Well, that's all you got to say, man.
And you know, he was a very powerful man.
A lawyer.
So, you know, again, it was nothing for him to get his children to. It was nothing for him to get his children to get a TV show or whatever. And again, as long as the Kardashians are pushing their agenda, which they do, no problem. We'll make you a hit, you know? And it's, I mean, what was I going to say?
Like, as long as
I was actually thinking about something else I wanted to say, and I got thrown off by that.
Yeah, you were just saying. No, you were just saying that as long as they keep the because I was saying, oh, what are they part of the bloodline then? And you were saying, yeah, well, it seems so, because the Pops is a lawyer. He worked on the OJ trial, and as well as that, you know, I already when you're saying he's a lawyer, that already has been like, okay, yeah, so, you know,
yeah. I haven't looked into their bloodline, to be honest, but I wouldn't be surprised. And like Dan said, that was great information he was saying before the show about with the Armenians being Armenian and all that.
Oh yeah, did you?
They could definitely be maybe a bloodline. I haven't looked into it, but they could just be, again, it could just be through the father being a big time Mason who proved his loyalty for a very long time, you know, and this is what he did, you know. It was the same thing for Jessica Simpson and those girls. I remember, you know, at that time it was like there was the football player Tony Romo. He was like the quarterback of the Cowboys. They gave him some huge, you know, $130 million deal. And then right away he gets like Jessica Simpson and this and that. And I'm just like, you know, for people who don't know Masonry, this is how Masonry works, man. Like, if you're a Mason, this is a fact. This isn't my opinion. If you're a Mason, your obligation is to your fellow Masons more than your own family. So if another Mason wants to be with your daughter, it is your job to get your daughter to be with that Mason. That is the reality of Masonry and how these people operate, you know? So I could see it as like, you know, hey, Kanye, you want to take it to the next level? You know, you got to join the Masons, you got to join Boule, you got to do, you know, be one part of these groups. And this is what you got to do, you know? And Kanye probably did that to get to that level. And as a reward, they gave him like, what do you want? Can I have one of the Kardashians? Yeah, sure, no problem. And their daddy probably went and set it up and said, that's literally how I see how these things work. It really is like that. It's no different than what they did to Diana or whatever. You're going to be with this guy. That you have to do it. It's what the family wants. And I'm sure the Kardashians were told to, you know, Kim was told to be with Kanye. Just like Jessica was told to be with who she has to be with or whatever. the women are treated, you know, the Masons don't care, you know, they have no problem selling out their daughter, their mom, or anyone, you know, and it's also part of their order is to give to their brothers. So, you know, if Kanye joins and if Kanye wants your daughter, you give it to him. So I felt like right then that's what would happen. And then he goes to this next level. And like you were mentioning about how, you know, here it is, you're on this big level, and now all of a sudden you're coming out. Well, didn't we just see that for 4 years with Donald Trump here in America? It was the same thing. Everybody kept telling me, Vinny, he's an outsider. They hate him. They hate him. Oh, they can't stand him. Oh, they're so against him. Oh, please, nonsense. Such nonsense. Donald Trump is not an outsider. He never will be, okay? And he ain't out. They don't hate him. He's part of the group. And so after seeing Donald Trump and people still believing in Donald Trump, it wouldn't surprise me that Kanye West is no different, and that maybe he's like, you know, like a Donald Trump figure where they're going to use him to throw out, you know, some truths to get, you know, people like, oh, look, you know, he's calling them out. Just like Trump. When I get in office, I'm going to arrest Hillary Clinton. I'm going to throw her in jail. I'm going to do this and that. He became president. He said, everybody, I want you to clap for my friend Hillary Clinton. The Clintons, they're my friends. Clap for them. It's a joke. You know what I'm saying? He said what people wanted to hear. Everybody went crazy. Vinny, they hate him. He's going to clean the swamp. He's going to drain the swamp. He is the swamp, man. He is the swamp, just like the rest of them.
Swamp thing,
and Kanye's probably the same thing, you know? Kanye's probably, you know, if I had to bet money, I would say it's probably not real with Kanye, because they wouldn't be pushing it. You know, like we talked about, you'd be dead. If you're a real threat, you end up dead in silence. They're going to make you look crazy, and they're going to cover it up real quick. I mean, that's what I've seen in all my research, from Bill Cooper to whoever.
But maybe they are making him look crazy now, you know? Maybe they're doing their best to, they're like, all right, look, let's use him to make everything just seem like it's a load of bloodlines. Just crazy people talk about that. You know what I mean? Like, who knows, man? Who knows? But it's very interesting seeing what's going on.
It's funny you say that, man. It's funny you say that, because it ties in with where I feel is going on is the collapse of America and Europe, and all this stuff is coming. And maybe they're getting ready to give us the excuses and the people to blame again. But a thing I thought about last night, and I want to bring up, and maybe you and your audience will enjoy, is, do you remember the movie a couple years ago, The Joker?
Yeah.
Remember Joker? With
Joaquin
Phoenix's Joker?
Yeah.
Very dark, right? And I remember the minute I seen it, I was like, this movie is a lot more powerful and giving a lot more than people even understand. There were so many messages I got out of that movie. And I think that movie shows almost to like what's going on, and it was almost showing you what is going to be coming. Like at the end with all the chaos. And we've got to see a little bit of that at the start of COVID with the Black Lives Matter and the White House being stormed. I mean, they've been programming and getting us ready. And the Joker, I feel like the Joker was, and why so many people love the Joker is so many people can relate to the Joker. What the Joker was in that movie was the average man in America and probably Europe and most places where you're at too, where life is so screwed up and people are seeing the system with its flaws. Like, here it is, right? He's going, he's trying to get help. They got him on drugs. He's saying the drugs ain't really helping, right? You know, he was trying to do everything he could to do good. He wanted to fit in. He wanted to do good. He wanted to be a good person, but he couldn't figure it out. And he was miserable. And he was telling, I'm miserable. And then later on, they show him the thoughts of suicide, right? And literally the first thing he was going to do was commit suicide on that show, right?
Yeah.
What it is he's the average American to me. Most people now are so cut off from each other. Everybody is so lonely and depressed. The majority of people can't get into a working relationship, don't have good family, don't have good friends. The majority of people are so cut off that they spend their whole time on the internet finding random people that they could maybe relate to. You know what I'm saying? The real horror story going on since is depression and the sadness that's going on for most people as they live in this world that isn't good, and nothing good is going on, and society isn't built in a good way to help people. And even in that, they show you a lot of that, you know, with the psychiatrist, the drugs, the system. They didn't care about him, right? And then finally, you know, he's basically looking at himself as, do I exist? Which is probably what a lot of sad, depressed people are. You know, why am I here? What is going on? No, I have no friends. Why can't I get along with people? You know, I don't even want to live no more. And that's the story of that. And then the catalyst is you got like you got De Niro there, right? Who's playing the host, right? And he represents what? He would represent, you know, a superstar, right? Like a famous person. You know, David Led. I don't even know who's on TV anymore. It's been so long. But whoever, you know, some late night host is or whatever. Yeah. You know, the epitome of money. You know, he's got the money, the fame, you know, nice easy job to sit there, hey, you're on my show, right? So he's the epitome of society, right? And what was that? It's just this rich, arrogant guy who was what? That was just gonna use him to make fun of him, right? They just were gonna make fun of him. They weren't there to help him or, oh yeah, you're funny, let's help your career. You know, he was gonna use them, and he was gonna abuse them and do it for their entertainment, right? So the moment, the catalyst is then when he decides to, instead of killing himself, is he goes after the symbol, which is Murray. So when he takes out Murray, that's the catalyst that starts the riots, the protests, the anarchy, that they end up showing you the clip, you know, the clip at the end. Everybody goes crazy. All those depressed, sad jokers out there who are tired of society, who dropped out a long time ago, the castaways, the cast out, they all freaking rebelled, and they all put on their Joker mask, and they all went and they attacked the police, and they destroyed the system. They bring the system down because the system is broken and everybody's tired of it. And I literally think that is what's coming. And the Joker and these things are showing us glimpses of what they know is going to be coming. There's going to be a collapse of society in America, in Europe. And, you know, I keep saying, I really think it's going to be pretty soon, like within the next 2 or 3 years.
What, you think it's going to be like a revolt in that way, though, in the similar way of the film, or just like, you know, in a civil way?
I think that was showing it. Me personally, I've been saying the way I see it is it's Donald Trump. I don't care what anyone says. Donald Trump is coming back in 2024, and he's going to be the one who causes this. And
he's going to drain the swamp, like, Vinny. He's going to drain the swamp, Vinny.
The right is going to rise up to smash the left. That's what I see coming. That they're just, you know, they're going to blame the left and, you know, radical liberals as the reason. And the right wing is going to kick the shit out of them. It's not even going to be a competition.
No, of course not.
It's not. The boys with the guns and the flags are going to kick the crap out of the liberals and this and that. And that's what I see coming. I feel like they're trying to get the right wing,
the purge, to
go and attack the left. Because, you know, that's to the right, that's who the problem is. It's not Jews or Jesuits, it's the liberals. And to the liberals, it's Donald Trump and the Republicans, you know. Useless fighting. And to me, that's what they're setting up for. And they're gonna bring Donald Trump back. I don't know. I'm gonna.
Is that why
people could keep saying it, but eventually people are gonna be like,
is that why Lord Jesus was
chaos in 2024?
Is that why Lord Jesus was wearing the 2024 hat on the Drink Champs?
Yeah. Yeah, well, you see Kanye's all about promoting Donald Trump too, right? He was
Wow.
all about Donald Trump too, wearing his white Lives Matter right shirt. I saw that one. Kanye with the
Yeah.
White Lives Matter shirt.
Yeah, I bought one, by the way. I bought one of them.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, thank you for the support.
So good, man. You know what I mean? You got to like, keep the balance out there, man. It's us
But
against
yeah,
them,
you know,
remember.
it seems
It's
like
us
part of
against
the
them.
agenda to me where they're trying to get the fight. Oh, sorry.
Mm-mm.
So, you know, Donald Trump is perfect for that. That's why he's gonna come back. I think right now this is more like Biden and the left are doing things that Donald Trump wouldn't have been, his supporters and people, they couldn't let like them show like Donald Trump doing this stuff. So they're
He's doing a lot of stuff that we wouldn't have done. We wouldn't have done it this way.
and
Wouldn't have done it this way.
yeah,
No, they wouldn't.
yeah.
No, they wouldn't.
Let's make America great again. And you know,
Make it
the
great.
Republicans are gonna go.
Yeah. So you reckon that's what? And so, in a sense, like these are all little things that they're planning just to kind of rile people up and get them prepared for the big revolt. They're going
Yeah,
to
because
storm
to me, anything that
Diddy's
goes
offices.
mainstream that they're pushing, you have to question, because it's like we know they control everything, right? And they're not going to let information out that they don't want, right? I mean, let's take flat Earth, right? Because we all agree basically on that.
Shout to
right?
Mr. Green, yeah. Apart from a few of us, but yeah, shout to Mr. Green on this one. Go on, Vinny.
So, you know, flat
Strap
Earth
yourself
came
in.
out, and right away they just made fun of it. They had their little debate, and then they just avoid it now at all costs. None of them will have a debate with any of us. You're never going to see Neil Tyson deGrasse or any of these people debate anyone, right? So now they just hide from it, you know? So the fact that they keep pushing it, when they're pushing Kanye West or something like that, it has to raise a red flag. You have to be like, why are they pushing this person? If it's someone that's rocking the boat, they're not going to push the person. They're going to do everything for you not to hear that story, is what I've always seen. So, you know, that's why it's kind of like, is it possible? Yeah, you know, anything's possible. Just like Kennedy, you know, it's possible for someone even as like Kennedy to be like, I ain't doing this crap.
Yeah.
This is wrong. You know, it's possible Kanye did that. But if I had to bet money, the fact that they're pushing it everywhere, you know, I would assume that he's being led, and that this is part of the agenda of this coming clash that's going to happen in America. There's going to be like a civil war between the left and the right.
Right. That makes sense.
Black and white, left and right, blue and red, whatever people want to call it. You
Big
know,
and little.
they're going to do it, and they got to blame someone, because they're going to destroy America. America is not going to be around much longer. And Europe too looks like, you know, in all the research I've done for years, Europe will probably go before America. I mean, I've already heard the things where they're talking about the United
Nation.
the stuff with Europe falling apart basically real soon. There's a lot of stuff.
What, with the whole gas pipeline and all that? Because of that, they're saying that a lot of infrastructure is going to start
There's
imploding.
so much going on, man. There's so much more to come. People have no idea what's coming, man. There's going to be shortages. There's going to be electrical. There might be times where they're going to tell you, you know, maybe Monday and Tuesday you have electric, MysDiggi. You know, it's going to get really bad. It's like people have no idea the games and stuff that are coming. And you could see it, you know, them blame it on the war or this or the pipelines or the workers. They always got their excuses. But I'm telling you, this is all planned by these families. They're doing it to their own companies. Like when I talked with my buddy Fritz Brigmeyer, he was the one who told me a long time ago, Vinny, you got to look into Atlas Shrugged. He was like, you got to read the book, Atlas Shrugged. That's the plan the elite are going to use. That's what they've been talking about since the 50s, Atlas Shrugged. When COVID happened, day one, I was like, oh my God, this is Atlas Shrugged. This is what they're doing. In Atlas Shrugged, for people who don't know, written by Ayn Rand, an Illuminati member in the 50s, wrote this book, and in the book, they basically talk about how the Illuminati destroyed their own businesses. They stopped the whole world, right? They literally start blowing up their own businesses. They destroy all the economies and everything. And then it shows you like gas prices going $20, $30, $60, $100 for a gallon. Nobody could do anything no more. Then eventually all the workers start getting worse and worse. There's no real reason to work hard or anything. So everything just gets worse and worse. Everything falls apart and the whole world stops. Okay?
The world
This has
stops.
been planned.
Not the earth. The earth carries on, but the world stops. What they've made stops. Right?
It's like a libertarian
they
book.
made it like the world is always spinning, the world is turning, and that they were just going to stop it. They were going to stop the world from turning. Like the world was like a business running, and they were going to destroy it so that the world stopped. And this is all because of also depopulation, like a reset, to basically reset, depopulate, and go into this new world.
So
the way they want the new world.
So all right. So your mom said something that's very like I kind of hold to as well. She says if you believe that then that's what will happen. Reality is created by our thoughts. Personally, I choose to imagine a different reality. And there is something to say, like, you know, the fact that you've mentioned like the books that have come out, right? And then it's like we wonder, how does this information come out then? How do people find out? And then they're telling the world and whatnot. Somebody's letting it out. And you wonder whether the fact that they're putting this out, you know, when you understand like putting things into your imagination is a form of magic. And now it can be, you know, it can all of a sudden become, because of the thought, so many people putting their energy into that thought, you know, and that could be possibly what, because we're always hearing this, that, graphene oxide, you know, all these different things, and then you never actually see it. You just keep reading it and hearing it, and I'm sure a few of the common sensors can agree. It's like, yeah, there's just loads of stuff that comes out, and that's about it. You just keep hearing it, and it never fully happens, you know, it never actually comes to fruition as such. There's drips and drabs of it, or even stuff comes out and it doesn't work when it comes out. You're like, right, okay, you know, we've had so many scares, and could that be possibly what's happening as well? Because they're not going to be able to stop the world. You know what I mean? Nature is just going to keep going regardless, and nature will even, there's a point when nature will be like, yo, I'm done with you lot, man. Let me flood up the place. Do you know what I mean? Ground come up, just eat everyone up. So really, you know,
I agree.
Is it?
Well,
is
to
there...
me, it meant not stopping the world, like the world's not going to be here, but it was like how the whole world's set, right? Like we're all set on transportation and
but that's the
Walmarts
thing.
And for them, it was, they destroy their own businesses, being Walmart, or to destroy it so that basically the world has to stop growing, and it's like a reset. You know, it was basically their way of how they're going to reset. And that's what people keep talking about now is this the great reset we're going through. I mean, it ties in to this story. And that's why when COVID happened, right away, when I heard them talk about the essential jobs, the essential workers, only certain things can be open.
Yeah.
That was the thing where I was like, oh my God, this is Atlas Shrugged. And then I watched as basically everybody was told they couldn't work, but Burger King and McDonald's could stay open and are essential. Walmart's essential.
Yeah, the liquor store is essential.
The landscaping company can't. The roofer, you know, can't. The guy who owns his own store, the bar owner can't. But McDonald's can. That's when I was like, oh my God, I think this is it. This is where they're going to destroy the economies and their own businesses. People would think like, that's crazy. Why would they do that? Because it ain't about money. When you already have all the power, you know what I mean? Like they don't need another $1 billion. You know what I'm saying? It's bigger than that to them. What's bigger is the plan, the agenda, which is a new world order. It's all over the money. It's been everywhere. It's all the Masons and these people talk about forever. It's a new world order.
So this is the thing. This is what I'm saying. So, like you said, it's a new world order, and that was why it was a good conversation with Clint, because he kind of like, when you split the two, when you're like, okay, the world and the earth, they made up this term, the world, and then this is the world we live in, where we believe you get in a car and to get over there, or you jump on a train or a tram, or you buy this TV, all these different things that are just like all man-made things that aren't even really of nature, which we are of. And so that will keep going, and I'm sure we can keep going off the back of that. We'll learn, like, okay, this is how we're going to trade. This is out there for that, bloodline to have some form of, what's it called, step-by-step plan. Then by all means, playbook. Then by all means, we can form a playbook that counters that. Do you know what I mean? Is the anti that, as opposed to like, continuously like being like, oh, this is what they're gonna do, this is the end of the world is coming. It's like, it's the end of their world, man. It's the end of what they want. So you know what I mean, they want to try and build a world that they can fully control people, but it can't happen. That's impossible to do, otherwise it would have happened ages ago. Do you know what I mean? Like now, in where so many people are waking up to the reality of what we're living in, I think it's going to be a lot harder to do. And also, I think there are a lot more people that are willing to sort of, what's the word? Like, sync up some form of way that we can continue a life similar. It might not be exactly the same. We're having all the luxuries that we used to, but a lot of them luxuries aren't good for you. Do you know what I mean? A lot of them luxuries aren't even really good for you anyway. So people just have to get with it, man. I told people already, start fasting, man. Get into that intermittent fasting or something. Because, boy, you know what I mean? You never know that time you have to skip a couple meals.
I wanted to say with the comment you made, and I agree with that guy about the power of the mind. And it reminds me of the great job Dawn and David did on your show. When they brought up the story of the guy, being, where they made him think he was being killed and then he died. I mean, I agree. I know the power of the mind. So I agree with the person in your audience on that. But I wasn't meaning it like that they're doing that so that we think about it and manifest it. To me, it's their game plan. It's their goal. It's what they want, like you were saying.
Yeah, what they want.
What they do is they're putting it out there, not so that we manifest it, but so that when it comes, you already have an idea of how to think. That's exactly what they did with COVID. Okay. We could get into Utopia, that amazing UK show from 2013. Yeah. Okay. Utopia. You can't watch Utopia and look at COVID the same, right? You can't, why did that come out in 2013? Why were there movies like Contagion and this and that? Okay, was it to get us so we would manifest it? No, it was so when they came with COVID, everybody would be like, well, I saw a Contagion, I saw this movie, and this is what happens. You wear a mask, you do this, social distance, blah, blah, blah. Germ theory is real, right? They've been being programmed, so when the event happens, they know how to act, right? So what I'm saying is there's an event coming where America and the world is going to change. So they're getting people ready for that, not trying to manifest it. And you talk about, do they have the power to do it? I mean, World War I, World War II, didn't they get the whole world like to be killing each other? I mean, they have the power to kill and make things happen. Do they have the power to kill every living thing all at once? No, I don't think so. But can they destroy these countries? Can they destroy economies? Could they get us in wars? Yeah, they definitely could. They definitely could, in my opinion.
Yeah. I guess I just feel like it, and it's probably the same thing, and it's all to do with perception, but it just feels so obvious that, do you know what I mean? That if they tried to do that, it would be like, okay, look, man, you can't keep doing this now. We get it now. We see what's going on. There are a lot of people.
Even Kanye sees it now, huh? Even Kanye seeing it.
Yeah. That's
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, I agree. That's why I feel like there can't be how much more before the game ends, right? Because like you said, it's like so much is coming out all over the place. It's like how much longer could they keep this game going?
Mm.
You know what I mean? It doesn't seem like there's much more. Everything keeps getting worse. All the economies, all the food production, the gas production, the coal mine, they're attacking everything. The fish are dying in the oceans. There's everything is being destroyed.
Mm.
I mean, people just have to. I mean, we're watching the skies be polluted every day for how long with chemtrails? They're hitting us with radiation and 5G towers. I mean, it's a
Yeah, but where they
constant
gonna go?
bombardment
Where
on
they
every
gonna go?
level.
Because people always say, like, if they're doing that, like, they're getting harmed with it as well, aren't they? And their families, like, their bloodlines and all that.
Yeah, but they have their doctors, their medicines and their cures, and they get to eat good, and they get to and these people aren't living in the same places as we are. They're not drinking the same water and eating McDonald's and things like that. They have personal chefs. They're eating real food. Yeah, I'm sure, chemtrails is affecting everyone. But they have so much to help them that it reminds me of that movie, The Princess Bride. I don't remember how old people are, but if they remember that movie a while ago, The Princess Bride. And there's the scene where the guy, he thinks he's so smart, and they're trying to have a wit of the minds. And so they have two cups, and one of them's poisoned. But in reality, the guy puts poison in both of them because he knows that he built up a tolerance and he's strong enough to survive the poison. It's almost like that to me. It's like, yeah, they're getting poisoned too, but they have so much good going for them. It's not going to affect them as much as us who really aren't getting any nutrition or anything good, and then the mental aspect of it, with being sad and things like that, and what that does to your health, so.
Yeah. That's another thing as well, is that I think a lot of why we're kind of given that, all these bits of information that, like there are certain channels you get on Telegram and that, and they're always sharing stuff, and it's just same. It's like the similar stuff from the beginning of that 2020 when you were getting all those videos, fake videos of people like frothing at the mouth and dropping, and it's COVID and all that. And it's the same sort of thing. Oh, look, this is beyond. There are drones flying around and people are locked in these. Like, come on, man. Oh, look, these kids are in cages and all of this stuff. What it does to you, going back to what you're saying about Dawn and David sharing their knowledge. This stuff can make you sick. Once you're watching stuff that's having you worrying and stressing out and thinking, oh, doomsday is coming. This is coming to us. That's gonna make you sick alone. Do you know what I mean? I truly believe that at 100%. So I think all in all is like, as long as people know how to center themselves, channel their energy in the right way, do you know what I mean? Don't worry about it until you know for sure. Till you know for sure, it's just speculation. But it's it's information that, not all of us, but some of us find interesting and can be very helpful. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's also, I mean, you guys already know me pretty good, and I'm not a fear monger, and that's not why I do things.
No. I'd say information spreader.
Yeah. To me, I say these things not to like put people in fear of like, oh no, something bad's coming. It's to get ready. And even like you were saying, like to get ready, like start fasting, like we make a joke about it, but I mean, this is reality. The dark reality is there is something coming. Everybody knows it. Everybody could sense like it can't stay on this track. This track is like running out of lies and bullshit to keep feeding us. It has to go another direction, right? The game isn't working no more. Nobody's buying the bullshit, like you said, right? I mean, so many people are waking up. There's just too much to where nobody, like I said with the Joker, man. they were showing in that movie that people have lost their faith in the system. That was part of the Donald Trump thing too. And I knew it when it was going on. I was telling people, I said, they're showing you that nobody has faith in the system anymore. To where people are like, I don't care. I don't want left or right. Just anybody who's different. Donald Trump, cool. He's an outsider. He has money. He doesn't need money. He won't be bothered. They were just looking for anything different because they're so tired of the same pathetic bullshit that they feed us. Another George Bush. Maybe his brother could be the next president. And just the same garbage. And like the Joker showed, nobody's getting help. There's tons of problems going on, and there's no real help. There's no real help for the sick people out there. They're just making it worse.
So do you think do you think people are going to wake up to the fact that maybe they need to help themselves? Like this when you say like the system's not working, which part of the system do you think people will sort of wake up to and realize, like, hold on, because like, what we kind of understand is it's not even, no matter how many faces you put up there, look how many names you mentioned, presidents and whatnot, have the people ever truly been happy? Has everyone ever truly been happy all at one in unison? No. And so that means that it's probably not, there's probably another problem there that we're not looking at and or addressing. And it seems to be the office. The office is always messy. Everyone that comes in is always having to come in and clean up the office before they can even start their, and always blame that. I didn't have enough time to clean up the office,
It's a nice excuse. Yeah, it's just a fancy excuse so that people, again, keep thinking that this is real, that there's like this right-left fight going on, when we know that's not real, that they're all part of the same group. They're not fighting each other. This has nothing to do with liberalism versus Republicans and this and that, and that's what I'm saying. Donald Trump is the perfect example. He showed that people were just so happy to just not have a left or right. We just want something different, and that's what it was for a lot of people, and like I said, it's all tying in. And now look at Biden. Who's this guy, like 97 years old? I mean,
which one?
Nobody cares about this guy. There's nothing they can do to make this guy entertaining or interesting.
I saw.
How come he looks so different?
I saw a picture the other day of him having a jab, and then a picture of him with his top off, and he's got a tattoo on his arm with his top off. And when he's having the jab, he ain't got a tattoo.
Are you serious?
Totally different person.
What?
I don't know if you're looking at the same one.
It's so bad.
There's probably about 4 of them. Like,
but he
different
looks
ears.
different.
They've got different ear shapes.
I see one thing and I was like,
hairline.
he does look different, man. Like, what's the hell? But it's weird because he's kind of got like this generic kind of look that you can't.
Be easy to make other people look that way.
He's probably had zombie already. He's probably had zombie already, and they just got him on drugs, like keeping his pulse going. And they just got like.
One of them's really chatty. There is one of them he's quite good at talking, and one of them's just really like probably like. One of them touches kids all the time as well. There's another one who keeps touching children. It's not all of them. It's all different. They've all got different personalities.
They're like Teletubbies, boy. Like hardcore.
One like little boys, one like little girls. Yeah, whatever. I mean, that's how bad it is. But I mean, look at it. I mean, we're laughing, and this is the American president. It's a joke. It's a joke. Then we're gonna lose this joke for that yellow, that orange orangutan Trump to come back. He's, oh my God, it's just one clown for the next, and everybody's just gonna go crazy and fight over it. That's what I see coming.
There are people saying. There are people saying that it's like other. Who is it? What were they saying? That I guess like the Holy See are the ones that want it to implode. They want America to implode, or then there are people blaming Russia, and then there are people blaming China, and so like. Who do you think it is then? You reckon it's the bloodline?
The Vatican. No, whoever said the Vatican, give that person. You win the prize, man. Yes, all roads lead to Rome. That's what I've tried to, since I've been on your show, I keep trying to push that to your audience, push it to Kill a Priest and others. I mean,
Wow.
yeah.
All roads lead
The
to Rome.
Vatican, like I even told Kill Priest, man, when this all ends, who do you think is going to be the new leader of the world? It's going to be the Pope. It's going to be a one world religion and this and that. And the Pope is going to be ruling it. So of course the church is the one that's behind this. Of course the church would love for all of this to end already so they could get rid of this whole secular idea of separation of church and state. And they could go right back to where the church runs everything. And that's what's going to be coming. All these places are going to be run. I mean, they already are run through the Catholic Church and the Jesuits, but it's been a fight. It's been a constant process, a fight. There's people who don't get it and fight back, like Kennedy, like Abraham Lincoln. For people who don't know, Lincoln, it was the Jesuits that killed him. And he literally said, if I'm assassinated, it will be because of the Jesuits. That's his own words. It's evidence. It's facts. Last time I was on, I brought up King James. King James, the Jesuits tried to blow up British Parliament in King James. The Catholic Church is always the one behind the scenes.
Well, that's what the Guy Fawkes thing is about, right?
Yeah, Guy Fawkes. Remember the 5th of November. That was literally Guy Fawkes.
3 days
and
time.
Guess who? Kit Harington, Jon Snow's ancestor. Jon Snow, I told you guys that last time, right?
Jon Snow.
Or did I not?
Yeah. I think you did
Remember
mention
Game of Thrones?
Kit Harington.
Yeah, Jon Snow. What, the guy who plays Jon Snow?
Yeah, Kit Harington
His
is
real name is Kit Harington, and he's related to Gatsby. Roger Gatsby is his family. You could go look it up. He sat there in an interview like, yeah, this is my family. And it's so, yeah, he got to play his ancestor who tried to kill King James.
Wow.
Okay. That's how deep this goes, Again, generational bloodline, right? Why is Jon Snow Jon Snow? Huh?
Wow.
Because he's related to Jesuits. I mean, there's lots of good-looking guys who could probably act out there. He ain't the only one. Why are certain people chosen? Because of their families and their bloodlines.
Because let's be honest, man. There's some shit actors out there now, boy. Like there's, you know what I mean. But you just see them in so many different things. Like,
what about music? Lady Gaga and some people. Oh my God! Like how? They have no talent, none at all.
It's deep, man. It's deep.
But they're famous. But they're the most famous because they're the biggest sellouts. That's why. And
deep, man.
The Vatican is the one behind all of this. I told you there's also going to be a fake alien invasion, which the Catholic Church is behind that also. And that's also going to usher in this whole one world idea.
How are they gonna pull that off though? With this, was it Operation Bluebeam? Remember Farmer G talked about that. Operation Bluebeam. They're gonna. The thing is, this is what I don't get though, Vinny. Yeah. So basically, like I'm saying, the stuff we look at is all on our phones or on a screen or whatever. So we're not there to actually see it for real. They're gonna try and make it look for real, but you reckon it's gonna be like people actually there seeing it, like just regular people looking up in the sky going, oh my God, there's an alien landed and whatever, and they're gonna get away with it. Come on, man.
Yeah, I actually think it could be that. I think it's gonna be that crazy that they're gonna fake stuff, whether Project Bluebeam or whatever other projects they've been working on, but they're gonna do something to where everybody will look up in the sky and see things, and everybody will be like, "There's aliens. I knew there was aliens. Here they are." And then they could, will clearly the Pope will make the deal with them, and the Pope will represent us and
baptize an alien.
We'll be working with the aliens.
Remember the Pope said they baptize an alien.
Yeah. So the Pope's been ready to baptize this alien for a while, so we're just waiting.
I'm a listening alien. Yeah, well, would you baptize one? Yeah. I'll baptize one. Yeah, it's kind of weird, man. Well, this is the thing that I find strange about it all, is just that, okay, now I've seen this thing in the sky, It could be anything. They've already tried the whole thing in the sky situation before, like over the years, and it's not really worked. It's, you know, they've even put all these crazy programs on, you know, ancient aliens and this, that, and the third. Now you got that guy that, you know, all the memes and whatnot. So it'll be tricky to think that people are really going to believe in that stuff. Do you know what I mean? In my opinion.
Well, I mean, look at it. I mean, almost the majority of people I meet have never seen an alien in their life, have never seen a UFO, but yet the majority of people tell me they believe in aliens and UFOs. So to me, I already see a majority of people who believe without ever seeing anything. I think if they stage some type of light show up in the sky and then the media immediately is pushing on every channel that aliens came, people will say, yeah, and I'm ready for my next booster shot too. So.
Yeah. Wow, that's a good point. And if they put it out in the media, though, if they put it out,
and they've been promoting it, right? Like we talked
Black
about,
Mirror.
where I talked about like Utopia and things for COVID. They've been promoting the alien agenda since like, I don't know, the 30s, maybe even earlier than that. With constant pushing of space and all this stuff. So again, what was the real? It has to be for a reason, because at some point they're going to play that card. They didn't just make up this lie just because it was fun for 100 years and then just like, oh, we're bored of this joke, we'll pick a new joke. No, it's a plan, you know. They've been using it and they're going to play the card at some point. It's just when. And Bill Cooper and a lot of people back then said that's the last card. The last card they're going to play is a fake alien invasion.
That's the last card. So in that sense, the last card meaning after that, they'll be able to get everybody under their wings or under their claws or tentacles.
World government. Yeah, there'll be no more America and Russia or any countries.
It'll just be
everybody
one world.
will just, yeah. Which won't be Jews running. It won't be England or America or China or Russia. It will be the Vatican.
And the aliens, the little molested aliens in the background.
Yeah, they could rape little boys together in the bottom of the Vatican, in their secret library.
I'm not even laughing at that, man. Wow.
You know, where they got all the giants and everything they hide from us.
Do you believe that there is like a ton of information underneath the Vatican as well? Like it's meant to be a mile-long vault or something like that?
Oh, yeah. No, that's without a doubt. That's without a doubt. And almost all the things that were stolen from the Smithsonian and all these museums throughout the years, they all go to the Vatican. It all goes to the Vatican. Again, not to some rabbi Jew or a Muslim or a Chinese guy. It all goes to the Vatican.
Well,
that's what it is.
So they report that things have been stolen from the Smithsonian. Yeah, they say, oh, this got stolen.
They go missing, they lost stuff, they go missing, but then there's always reports of these things ending up in Rome. You know, if you could read stuff from the 1800s, even in the 1800s, you could just read endless newspaper articles everywhere over America, all over America. It doesn't matter what state it is. People were talking and finding giants, period. And then the Smithsonian and these places show up and the things go missing. And then it's, oh, we lost it, it's missing, because it goes against their agenda, right, of evolution. So they can't allow that to be in the History Museum. So that goes and is hidden in the Vatican. The Vatican got, like, most of it's never even been looked at because, you know, I don't think anybody who's had that high of a clearance has ever come out to tell us about it.
You are not allowed here.
Yeah. You know, there's been a lot of things. I mean, even that Jesuit freaking Tom Hanks in that movie, what was it, years ago, Da Vinci Code and all that, they would insinuate on that, right? They were even letting you know in that. You know, was Dan Brown's book. Yeah. And you know, insinuating that the church is hiding all the stuff and they were letting him, the Vatican is going to let you look at this. You know, how nice of the Vatican to let him in to use the books. you know, what a joke. The Vatican is the one hiding everything, and they're the ones controlling the universities. So who, you know, I remember before I knew, you know, when I was just still awake, I mean, when I was still asleep, before I was awake, everybody would blame liberalism and that this was something that was being done in the colleges, right? And then you go to school, and even when I went to college, I could see it was like filled with mostly liberal teachers, liberal theology, you know. And I'm trying to think. There was also a movie a couple years ago with George Clooney. Who was it, like Hail Caesar? And again, it's showing you like the Hollywood people pushing an agenda and how they're like, you know, real liberal. And so we always like assumed that it was like coming from the schools. But again, when you realize that all the schools are run by what? The Vatican. All of history, all of science, everything being taught, whether it's in China, England, America, South America, Africa, all of it comes from the Vatican. People have to understand this. This is reality. Your history, wherever you're from, was given to you by the Catholic Church, period. That's it. You know, not Jews, not anyone else but the Catholic Church. You know, they've created this whole storyline, you know, and it seems like the 1800s is where they really, you know, took over. And now we're like, you know, what, 3-4 generations lost. It's like almost impossible for most people, you know, to, yeah.
So, okay, let's switch it over, because you said what you mentioned was about the history, about them owning the history and them telling us our history, what our history is. And you're saying by around the 1800s, they sort of went in a bit more hard. You mentioned before, remember we were talking about the whole mud flood thing, and whether it is mud floods or whether it is actually this other idea of electric currents coming up from the ground and melting these already built buildings, these already brick buildings and whatnot have been actually melted. But before we do that, I want to just give a shout out to the CMOS boss. Is that all right? Do you want to grab a drink or whatever, or roll up something? Let's get a roll call as well. Roll call in there, man. What you lot blazing up before we, you know what I mean, carry on with this? Because Vinny's going in, boy. This is what I'm talking about. Jeez, man, you got me thinking. There's so many different avenues, you know, to this thing. And obviously, yeah, we're trying to get to the truth, the reality of what it is, who is controlling. And you just get me thinking, like, oh, actually, yeah, that makes sense, because, you know. But yeah, shout out to the cmosboss.co.uk. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to get your quality sea vegetable products, 100% organic, wild-crafted sea vegetables, fresh from the coast of Donegal, also known as the Wild Atlantic Way, hit up the cmosboss.co.uk. You can get yourself Irish moss. You can get CMOS gel. You can get CMOS gel with bladderwrack. You can get yourself some dose, some spirulina, some wakame, all types of bladderwrack. And all these things are really, really helpful for the system. When I'm talking about helpful for the system, I mean, obviously, the iodine levels really help with your thyroids and things like that. But you can improve things like your hair, promotes healthy skin. It can build muscle and aid in workout recovery, can boost your immunity, supports gut health, is good for weight loss as well, can keep the heart healthy. CMOS has so many different benefits to it, and also that's applied to the other sea vegetables as well. So yeah, things like detoxifying your body as well, which I thought was interesting. Increasing energy, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Coming up towards where if you're like if you're starving, you've got no electricity, then like say fasting and detoxing.
Yeah, bruv, you know what I mean?
But get yourself some of this first.
Yeah, get yourself, trust me on that. That's 100%, because the amount of vitamins and minerals packed into these foods. And the other good thing as well, if you get big batches, you can get like kilogram bags of CMOS or dose and things like that. It lasts for about 2 years as well. So, you know what I mean? You can look after yourself for a minute.
And when else do you ever buy a kilo of anything? You know,
Yeah.
you can at least buy a kilo of that.
You know what I mean? If it's going to be
Doesn't take
anything.
up that much room.
Nah, man, it don't at all, man. And you can order any of those products from the cmosboss.co.uk. When you get to the checkout, make sure you type in about 20. That's in uppercase, about 20, and you'll get yourself a whopping 20% off any orders. Shout out to the cmosboss.co.uk. This is some shit you might not never know nothing about. Myself, MysDiggi, alongside my co-host Dan DNA, and our special guest Vinny B from the Bronx, breaking it down as always, man. Just dropping some. It's very much. It's a lot of fun, man. Being able to communicate with people on these sort of topics, because I find them interesting. You know, I'm still obviously here or there. I don't know who, what, but I just find like the more you can kind of hear about these sort of things, the more dots you can connect and things make sense as well. Because like all this stuff is ancient, old. You know, like you're talking about the bloodline stuff. And it's also down to like people that had that sort of knowledge that were able to control and create systems that people would have to live by, and laws and statutes and, you know, all these different things. And what I understand is that it does lead back to sort of the priest class and, you know, people that understood the world in a sort of mystic way. And then they were like, okay, maybe we pass this down to somebody who, call them a king, and they can stand in the place of, you know, us or the Lord in a way. And then it carries on from there. And then now we're here, where like in a world where we think things work a certain way, but actually they don't. And then you realize like, oh, wait, I'm not, you know, someone mentioned it in the comment section about voting. It's like, yeah, you don't really get to vote. You think you are, but it's just there to make you feel like you're involved. So you don't really know what's going on. And so in terms of that, you were saying about just before we had a break, we were talking about how the Vatican are controlling everything that's going on, and they have sort of warped our understanding of history over the years, and especially within the 1800s and whatnot. And then, so there's like these sort of, I don't know if they're very new, but these notions that I've become, you know, acquainted with recently, that I heard you touching on with a friend of yours. And one was that there were these mud floods, and people talk about this Tartaria and things like that, and how there used to be all these buildings that were already there, but then mud must have hit from some kind of storm or something, or mud flood, and then not half, but, you know, quite a bit of the buildings are buried. But then there's another notion that actually it's electricity that's come up from the ground that melted these buildings and whatnot. And so do you think that's a lot of history that has been hidden by them as well? And which do you believe, in a sense? Because it seems there's a debate between the two.
Yeah, great question, man. And real quick for the audience, because I on that break, I was asking my girl, I was trying to look in the chat real quick, see if there was any comment I could try to answer. But I seen the one guy saying I summarize a lot. You got to understand, man, I could talk for hours on any topic. I could go way into detail. When I do this show, I never know what I'm going to do. I call it freestyling. I'm sitting here. I'm not reading from a script. I'm not reading from a book.
Yeah, it's a conversation, though. You know, like we didn't ask you to come on and do a presentation, so it's more of a conversation anyway. And like the thing is like, yeah, people are obviously gonna have their opinion, but whatever, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was planning on bringing Johnny Cerrucci on today. We were focusing on doing a big hat versus little hat show. Yeah. So, you know, I didn't know what I was gonna do.
Yeah, you had a little taste of it earlier.
I love MysDiggi and Dan. I love the
we
show.
love you too, man.
Yeah, you too.
Vibe. I
appreciate
love
it, bro.
So
good.
You know, I'm willing to come freestyle if I have to.
Yeah, no, don't watch the comments, man. You know,
if people really want me to go into detail, I would need a little bit of time so I could come with the stuff. I could give you names, dates, show you images, but you know, other than that, I do the best I can just to speak from my heart and mind.
Yeah, if anyone's got any questions in the comments, just hit us up, man, and we'll you know what I mean, Vinny will definitely respond, man. But yeah, so let's get into this mud flood situation then, because this other thing.
So yeah, I love this topic too. I love this topic. It's to me, it was again about 10 years ago when I started doing shows. This is how long ago I've been into this stuff. That's why it's so funny me now, like seeing so many of these topics come out now. Like even for a long time, I never thought flat Earth would ever become like mainstream. Like that was I still sometimes laugh and I'm like, I can't believe, you know, that it got so big that millions of people know about flat Earth, you know?
Bro, David Wise video, that's the most views we've ever got, man. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, people love it, you know? Yeah. Flat Earth got so big, you know? And I never thought it would be. I thought it was something that, like, you know, nobody would know about. Another one of these topics to me that for 10 years I've looked a lot into is archaeology. 10 years ago, when I was doing the stuff, I was quoted as always saying that we live in opposite land. Every time I looked into things, I was like, it just seems like the opposite. And so I started looking at everything. Like I didn't find like Eric Dubay or something and was like, oh, now, you know, this makes sense. I'm a flat earther. I literally took apart everything and said, whatever they're telling me, the Jesuits and my rulers, is the opposite of the truth. So I started breaking down everything. So flat Earth, it was like, well, if they're telling me the moon's far away, maybe it's close. And literally that's how it started.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like someone said, hey, check out flat Earth. It was, I started looking into things myself and started to find out. So another one was archaeology. And there was one guy, his name was Lloyd Pye. I don't know if anyone in your audience ever heard of him. He was amazing. Guy named Lloyd Pye. He did a great documentary interview where it was called "Everything You Were Taught Is Wrong." And so right away, the title, I was like, right up my alley. That's what I'm going. So I find this guy, and he starts talking about fossils, and you know, there was a lot about Bigfoot and all other stuff, but the stuff I started getting from it was mud flood.
Yeah, you just
and I started learning a lot about fossils and this and that. And I started thinking, you know, he started bringing up points like for a long time, people didn't believe there was like a black and white bear that ate bamboo and didn't eat meat, you know, because they never seen one. And or, you know, still to this day, you'll never really find any monkey fossils, you know, but we all know there's monkeys have been here for a long time. And he started pointing out how fossils are actually really hard to be made. And I think I had the same thought, and probably a lot of people have the same one that I did, was something dies, it gets buried, and eventually turns into a fossil over a long period of time, we were told, right? You know, over a long period of time, things harden into fossils. But that's not really how it works. And in nature, when something dies, it's usually going to be picked apart and scavenged. And then whatever's left will probably be eaten away by maggots and insects. And there's really nothing will be left within just a few days, not even bones, you know, for most animals. So how does a fossil get made? And he explained that it actually has to be a certain condition. And then when I started seeing fossils, which I'm sure you and maybe your audience have seen, some fossils where they'll show you a fish was literally eating another fish and turned into a fossil. You could find fossils where you could see things were literally eating and turned into a fossil, right? So this was like, he was like, the only time you really could find it in nature is like, let's say there's like some animals at a water hole and, you know, a tiger comes, kills it, and it stuffs it into the mud and then, you know, covers it up. Basically, it's a process, and you have to like be basically cut off from oxygen. That's why it's got to like be buried. And then with the mud and the minerals will seep into the bone, it'll harden into stone. So it's basically a chemical reaction that's happening. That's how fossils are really formed. Okay, it's not just over millions of years they harden into stone. It's a chemical reaction. And I've seen people literally take a teddy bear, little soft, cuddly teddy bear, and put it in a river. And within a few years, they take it out. It's as hard as a rock. Why? Because minerals and nutrients and a chemical reaction turned it into a hard stone. All right. So I started to like really get into archaeology and start looking into this stuff. I think the best at the time was a guy in America named Michael Cremo. If your audience ever heard of him, he wrote the book Forbidden Archaeology. So I was a big fan of his. I did a show with him. Another great archaeologist from New Zealand named Jonathan Gray. Amazing. It was probably one of my favorite shows I ever did. And we went deep, and I went hard with him. And I even went after him on the dating methods, which again, you know, an archaeologist, it's like going to a doctor saying germ theory's, you know, wrong, right? Their whole thing's built on it. And, you know, they don't want to hear it. And that's what I was doing to archaeologists, basically saying, hey, you know, the carbon dating method's been discredited. Hey, you know, uranium method's been discredited. All your dating methods have been discredited. We can't use that. You know, so enough with your dating method. So besides that, we basically agreed on everything else. This archaeologist he's wrote over 100 books. He's awesome.
That's the Cremo, Mike Cremo.
Michael Cremo, no, that's Jonathan Gray from New Zealand. And I did a bunch of shows with him. And one of the things was also the gods, where I brought up the old world. I said, Jonathan, you know, we're all taught about Greek mythology and Zeus and these guys, and we're all told that our ancestors were idiots and this is just made up stories. Yeah. I was like, are these made up stories, or is there actually archaeology that proves that these people were actually here? And he was like, didn't even hesitate. He was like, oh no, yeah, there's lots of evidence. Zeus and these people were here. They were really here. Wow. And he was like bringing out stuff about Hercules, Zeus, and all these things. So again, where archaeology has the evidence. He has books on the giants. In one of his books, he showed a picture. It was a 28-foot mummy. Okay, there was like a guy who was like 5 foot on a ladder. It's like and it was still like nothing compared to this mummy that was 28 feet. Okay, so true archaeologists know that there's been giants.
Why didn't they unwrap the mummy so we could be like, because that's still like, huh?
It was like still in a tomb.
Oh,
it was still in the tomb, wrapped up, and they're showing. It was like a black and white photo from the 1800s, because that's when a lot of this was happening. The Jesuits were coming into America, taking over all these spots, and when they go into these towns and excavation would go on, and they're finding all this stuff, the Vatican moves right in and removes the stuff, and then, you know, all the people who tell the stories of giants or mermaids or this and that, they're just marked off as, you know, those are crazy, you know, stories. But, you know, there's no evidence, right? Because where is it, Vinny? It's not in the Smithsonian. It's not, the stuff was here. Archaeologists know it, you know? Jeez, and so that's when I realized that there had to be like a mud flood. Like that would explain, like, for something to be eating. And not just fish. They even have woolly mammoths that still have food in their mouth that have turned into fossils, right? So that doesn't happen over millions of years. So what? It turned into a fossil while it was eating. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, that's kind of mad. Shout out to Camo 12.
That within a few moments, you were buried. The things had to be buried. And so imagine something's eating, and then all of a sudden it's just covered with like 20 feet of mud. Mud flood or something comes, boom, 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 everything's covered. That would cause the conditions for all those things to turn into stone.
So you're saying they're absorbing.
Then we see these buildings, and you're seeing that half these buildings are underground too. Right away, you're like, there was a flood here. You know, and there's a lot of evidence for a flood. And besides that, every culture talks about it. So again, if people want to believe that their ancestors were idiots and just made up stories, and they all made up the same stories, I guess go for that. But to me, I'm saying that they were all telling the true story. There were mermaids, there were giants, there were dragons, there were all these things that we were told about were real. But the Catholic Church covered it up in the 1800s. You could look at maps from the 1500s. They're still showing you mermaids. There was a map I seen recently in the 1500s. It's showing you chupacabra in South America.
Yeah, but what I did see, I saw someone talk about they used to do that because that meant that it wasn't safe around there. It didn't necessarily mean that they were actually like, sea monsters or whatever. What would you say to that?
I mean, when you read the stories from the 1500s too of the Spanish going around. Read Magellan, read Christopher Columbus, read a lot of these explorers in the 1500s. They're all talking about the same stories.
Giant octopuses.
They're going to these places, seeing giants. They're seeing mermaids. They're seeing all types of stuff. There's evidence about giants. Even Columbus talked about giants. Every culture talks about dragons. Every culture talks about giants. Every culture talks about the flood. And the Bible talks about the flood with Noah. I mean, so every culture talks about it, and there seems to be a lot of evidence that points to there was a flood. And for a lot of these things to harden and turn into what they did comes from a flood, in a mud flood, to be honest. That's really the only way, or you could do like the Egyptians and these people, which is wrap them up, do all this stuff, and then bury them. And then maybe they could, survive a little, but it's still not compared to what we're seeing with these fossils. These are hard rocks, and that doesn't just happen over a million of years sitting there, And again, you wouldn't see things that were literally in the middle of eating that were turned into stone.
Yeah, and just to touch on as well, that was what I remember there was something else that I saw that I was like, I wonder if Vinny. What you'd say about that, or if you know about it. But there was someone mentioning to do with the whole Darwin thing. There's a video I got to watch. I'll share it once I've watched it to make sure it's not blah blah blah. But it was talking about like the guy was saying that if there was the form of evolution that Darwin was talking about, then surely we'd find fossils that were mid-evolved, in some form of way. But then it wouldn't make sense because the whole idea is to evolve to kind of survive. And then that means that whatever didn't work wouldn't have survived. So surely that wouldn't be, to say it would be organs not growing the right way or limbs or whatever. But we don't see any of those fossils at all. So, have you heard about that whole thing?
And I guess only monkeys evolved. None of the other animals that were here for just as long or longer than monkeys, none of them evolved into super beings either, right? Dragonflies didn't evolve into anything, did they? Bears didn't evolve into anything, did they? And we still see monkeys, right? But evolution is a Jesuit lie. Again, they give credit to Darwin, but Darwin was trained by. See, I'm sorry for your audience. I don't have the paperwork. I can't think of the guy's name, but it was a Jesuit priest.
About this.
Darwin was trained by the Jesuits, and Darwin, most of that stuff didn't come out until after Darwin was dead. Also, a lot of people got to realize Darwin did not even support most of that stuff. It was basically a propaganda piece that they wanted to push onto him. You know what I mean? And he didn't even want to take any credit because he knew how crazy it was.
Put a name.
So they waited till he was dead, and then we're like, "Oh yeah, this genius Darwin figured it out." Yeah. Okay.
So they doctored his papers. They doctored his papers and then put them out.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And Darwin. The original thing in that too, like they make it like survival of the fittest, and if you actually read Darwin's thing, he talks more about love and how. Basically, every animal and us, we all want to get along and love each other. That is actually what we are. We're not made for survival of the fittest. We're made of love. And you could see elephants that go around and mourn their dead elephants. Like, it's just reality. Okay? Animals have love too. They're not full of wanting to kill and eat each other. It's not survival of the fittest. It's about love and getting along with each other. You know, but again, this is the opposite that the Jesuits and the church were getting ready to unleash on us. And then right after that is, oh, you're not on a ball. You know, I mean, you're not on a flat earth. You're on a ball. And nobody believed that until like the early 1900s. This is all recent lies. I'll bring up another thing for you. Like I said, I made the comment that history and everything is taught from the Catholic Church. Well, that is true. Even our dating methods. So let's say you want to go and study Egypt, right? Or you want to study whatever. You're still learning it through the Catholic Church because they have recently made up these stories. The guy, I remember his name, Scaliger. That was the Jesuit's name. If you don't believe me, go look it up. All of history, the dating methods is based off a Jesuit priest named Scaliger. Okay, so all of history is based off of what the Jesuits have recently created. All right, so
Scaliger, right?
You know, that's why I had to, you know, and all these stories are just new creations from the Jesuits.
So you were saying that basically that the idea of like, you know, animals or whatever eating at the same time as becoming, you know, and then all of a sudden becoming fossilized doesn't make sense. So it's the mud that must have covered them, and then the body's absorbing all these minerals and whatnot, which are then fossilizing it, which are mineralizing it and making it become like a solid. And then so that's one side
and it's
of
preserved,
that.
right?
Yeah,
it's preserved, so no animal could come eat it, right? It's preserved under 20, 30 feet. It's preserved until someone comes one day and digs it up and finds a hard rock. And they're like, oh, look, millions of years it took.
Yeah,
No, it didn't.
So, okay,
No,
but the other, so, because I'm wondering if it could be both of them, but then the other side of this debate that you're talking about that's probably going to be erupting is the fact that, no pardon the pun, is that electricity is going to be coming up from the ground, or has come up from the ground and hit these buildings that were already built from a long time ago, way longer than we can imagine. And then that electricity is heated up these bricks. So these are bricks that were made from time ago, not like these new age, you know, bricks that we think we've come up with, and then melted all these bricks, and then they've to the point where they've started to look like stone. And so it looks like they're, you see these buildings, I saw these pictures of buildings within mountains, and you know, so we'd look at them and think that, oh, they've managed to carve out this you know, spot so that they could build this, you know, have a building in there. But then, you know, what the understanding is that, nah, actually these were buildings before, but then this side of it's been melted, this side of it's been melted, but this bit's been kept, and now they've just kind of dressed it up. And you know, so yeah, can you explain that a little bit? Because I know obviously that was
so for years I didn't really know anything about that. I've been, you know, mud flood and everything makes sense, especially for fossils and a lot of stuff, and again seeing buildings buried. But yeah, I found Jerry, I don't know how long ago, not that long ago, and I found his channel. It was called When the Buildings Cried, and I thought it was so cool. It was like, you know, like a red brick, and it had like a sad face, like a crying red brick. And I was like, oh, this looks cool. You know, let me check this out. Seems interesting. And then, you know, Jerry's a character, and but he started making a lot of sense. And then I started looking, because to me, I've also been open to mountains being, you know, old giant trees that were cut and hardened now from the flood. There's parts of me like this guy, Mud Fossil University. Roger, he believes I know 100%, and a lot in me makes me think he's right, and he thinks a lot of these things are literally dragons and other things that have hardened. Like Like he's talking like massive things and he's trying to show like the blood in the stone and everything. And you know, he's very interesting too, that I'm going to be working with and trying to get more into that. But what Jerry says, I have seen some mountains where it looks like a mountain and all of a sudden I'll see like red brick. And I'm like, you know, Jerry's onto something here. There definitely seems to be fire damage to a lot of stuff in a lot of these buildings. And I'm sort of like what you were just saying, MysDiggi, is could it be a little bit of both, right? Does it have to be just one? Is where I'm at right now still. That's why I want to further that debate. And I'm going to have Jerry and Roger basically being the two sides going at it.
Nice.
And I'll try to moderate it the best I can.
Nah, that's heavy.
Keep Jerry in check a little.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a wild one. But.
I think that clearly there was a flood in the past. Every culture talks about it. There's tons of evidence. We find, you know, fossils of fish up in mountains. I mean, there's lots of evidence that there was a flood. So I disagree with Jerry where he's like so anti-Bible and there was no flood, there was no nothing. I don't take it that far. I believe there was a flood and these Babylon and all these things were real. But his evidence of these melted brick has to be accounted for. He is right. He has a lot of evidence. And what he's saying, I think is believable. And then me, I'm the crazy one who always talks about did Jesus come back already? And, you know, the Bible talks about when Jesus comes back, he's going to burn up everything. Is that what we're seeing? So, you know, that's why I'm also open to, well, what was this moment? Did God just like all of a sudden just melt everything, when the game was over to reset? You know,
he was saying
definitely possible.
He was saying, what was it? That the volcanoes were not volcanoes; they were like leftover rocks and bricks and that are still melting. And yeah, that's what he says. He's like, Yellowstone Park is not. That's just old buildings that, you know, it's not volcanoes and whatnot. It's still
that was funny. But you know what's funny is a couple of years ago, I met a guy who lived in Hawaii and researched volcanoes, who told me years ago that volcanoes aren't what we thought they were, and that they're basically these caverns that are filled with this lava. It's not what we've been taught of, like tectonic plates pushing up and it's like pushing out. So I mean,
well, that's a whole nother
maybe
chamber,
Jerry's not that crazy with the volcanoes either. The thing that I thought of right away was 9/11. 9/11, I'll never forget. After the building's already down, days, weeks have gone by. There's been rain, days have gone by, weeks have gone by, and there was still people's boots were melting at ground zero. Okay, because it was still thousands of degrees hot. There was literally molted. It was like lava, like molted, like melting steel and stuff under those buildings for months. So, you know, could heat and things be trapped down there? Like, you know, it is possible, actually. You know, I've seen it with 9/11. I've seen it even with like little forest, like even when you make a fire, when you go camping, and all of a sudden, like you think it's out, and all of a sudden, like, you know, a day goes by, and all of a sudden it's still real hot underground. You know, the heat could be trapped there. You know.
Yeah.
He could be right. I don't. You know, I think it's possible what he's saying about the volcanoes.
And okay, and then where has this electricity come from then?
Well, see, that's the thing with Jerry. You know, Jerry doesn't believe in God, doesn't believe in the Bible, doesn't like, you know, so that's my issue with him too. You know, it's like he's got a lot of evidence, and I mean, those pictures speak for themselves. You know, a lot of those pictures, you could clearly see it's red brick.
Yeah.
But I don't think he has all the answers yet, and that's why I'm trying to help and trying to dig into the stuff myself also, you know, and also put it out there for others, for your audience, for others to, you know, maybe there's someone listening in your audience right now who will go figure out more than me and Jerry and you know, do. So that's part of why I do these things, is to get these debates happening, you know, just like I did with Killer Priest or wherever.
I think it's good.
These debates need to happen.
Yeah, in my opinion, I think it's good to talk about these things just to get them out and get, you know, like whether you agree with it or not, that's a different thing. But don't let that become like, you know, turn into some bullshit, because it ain't worth it. None of us really know. So all we can do is just talk about it and debate. That's the healthy debate. You know what I mean? So as always, Vinny, man, you dropped some knowledge on us there. I'm looking forward to hearing, to witnessing this debate as well, because I think both have kind of, like you said, strong arguments. But yeah, there's quite a lot, in my opinion, that is questionable on both sides anyway. I think the fossil thing is very interesting, but it seems like that could... No, it couldn't really happen, could it? If it's hot, then it would just melt away. Like, you know, flesh would just melt away. It wouldn't... Yeah. So yeah, when
you incinerate someone, they give you their ashes, right?
Yeah. So in a sense, it could be both. Could be both would happen, you know, at different times.
I think that my view, if I had to bet, and I have to make a guess at this moment, the flood was the first thing that happened a while ago. What Jerry's talking about is, like, he even said that his timeline is about, it could be anywhere from 400 to 600 years ago was this reset. You know, I think the flood was way before that, but I think there was this event where everything burned up recently. I'm still trying to dig into and figure out what that event was. I've told you, you know, some of my theories where I'm leaning towards on that. But, you know, another thing that we've talked about, and I want to not forget to bring up, is Tartaria, right?
So that's the mud flood crew on the Tartaria thing, isn't it?
The what?
Mud flood crew on the Tartaria vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, I've been someone for the past couple of years pushing Tartaria. When I went on Killer Priest and everything, I mean, I've been trying to get people to start looking into it. So it's great, you know, when I see so many people into Tartaria now and mud flood and all this stuff, it's great to me. But, you know, we still gotta help each other get all the facts straight, you know, because, like, as much as I love people talking about Tartaria, I hate to see when they're given misinformation. I don't want to say disinformation, because I don't think it's on purpose. I think they truly think that these buildings were made from Tartaria, but they're not. These buildings were older than Tartaria also, you know. Tartaria was a recent civilization. This wasn't old world. Tartaria isn't old world. These buildings, to me, are old world. This is Babylonian buildings from the old world. Tartarians didn't build this. Definitely no Jesuits or Europeans or anyone in the past 200 years built these things. They were already here. That's why they're called founded, not built. We founded this city. We founded this building in 1881. You know, I'm going to do a great thing on that. I've actually I haven't published it, but I've been going around doing my own things, recording some certain stuff, certain cities and places, and getting evidence of these buildings where it's like, and I'm just standing there reading the plaques of the story, you know, and it's like some of these places, like the state has hardly even been around for 10 years, and yet everything's built already, and they got these ridiculous structures and underground things and railroads and ridiculous churches everywhere. All the roads are built. Everything's built already. That is not physically possible. There is no way people show up, horse and buggy, pulling, a horse pulling a wagon. Our farmer peasant grandparents did not build all this stuff. They didn't show up to a land they've never been before, and then within 10 years build a whole city of beautiful brick structures. Where did this brick come from? How did these people do it? It's not possible. People just, if you do enough looking into it, you have to admit to yourself, there's no way they built this. You just have to be honest with yourself. So then you say, well, who?
Cut out.
All the history and stuff, it's the Jesuits have created it. I looked into Chicago, right? Recently, Chicago, it was called, in the 1800s, it was called Little Egypt. They were calling it Egypt.
Well, in Chicago,
right?
in the 1800s.
Chicago, yeah. So that's why you got Camilo and a lot of these people that have been pointing out there's a lot of evidence to show that Egypt of the Bible is actually Chicago, Wisconsin, Ohio, and a certain area over here.
Yeah.
And when I go and I look into the history, which is of course given to us by the Jesuits, and it's always some story like, oh yeah, this Jesuit priest shows up and is like, oh yeah, this reminds me of the story in the Bible, so we're gonna call it Little Egypt and this and that, and it's all nonsense. It's just like, oh, America's named America because of Amerigo Vespucci. That's the dumbest thing ever. First of all, that America was his first name. Why wouldn't you have called it Vespucci? Not, and he didn't discover it, and the real name was way before Columbus or anyone. It was called Amaraca, which meant land of the plumed serpent, right? So these names were already here. The Jesuits just recently made up these stories and acted like they built everything and they created everything, but they didn't. And that's what I love exposing too. And I've been going around showing there's no way they built these things. It's not possible. So what they did is they conquered this land. And I have my theory that I've mentioned to you, and I'll bring it up now to your audiences. This has to do with Tartaria. 1776 to me has never meant that British citizens rebelled against Britain and overthrew this big navy and fought for their freedom. That's just nonsense, right? The real story is if you look into Tartaria, when did the Tartarian Empire end? For you that don't know, 1775. Isn't it funny that we're taught that in 1776 is the Illuminati revolution and revolutions everywhere? And then that's when America and all these things take place in 1776. I just find it funny that it happens a year after Tartaria is wiped out. So to me, what really was going on was the British and the Vatican and their powers were being sent here because Tartaria was ended. Tartaria went against the Vatican. The Vatican and the Romanovs and these people were taken out. Like, again, it was a bloodline thing. The bloodline didn't do what they were told. So the Tartarians were wiped out. So then when they were wiped out and everything was taken from them, they sent out the English, the French, the Spanish, or whoever, go out and grab this land up. Go grab that land up. It's open land now. Tartaria don't exist no more. We got rid of them. And I also think that's where a lot of these white orphans came from. We see these orphan trains in the late 1800s, early 1900s all through America. And it's like, who are these white children? Where did they come from? Why are there millions of orphans of white children being sent on trains all throughout America? And who and that? The Catholic Church, right? Not Jews or anyone else. The Catholic Church was running that too, right? So, and another thing I never heard anybody really point out, even with flat earthers, that I want to point out, because people need to start making this. When we look at the maps that we're shown, right? And it's always like focused on like America and England, right? And we're like the center of everything. And we got this big landmass of water, right? And they make us think like it took forever for Columbus and them to go across that for Europeans to figure out there was land over there, right? How would people like look at the other part of the map where you got Alaska and Russia are literally like a few miles from each other? Alaska, if you're in Alaska, you could see Russia. If you're in Russia, you could see Alaska.
Yeah.
So what the hell is wrong with everyone? Why are we insisting that like it took forever for them to realize how to get across the Atlantic when you literally could just like Russians could have just walked right into Alaska. You could literally get on a little boat and go from Alaska to Russia. Why are people not realizing that there was literally migration coming from Russia and that side, not the other side? Tartaria, which is Russia, was also in America because they're right there. It's closer than England and New York. You got Russia is literally right there next to Alaska. How could anybody not think that the Russians and Chinese or people wouldn't have found a way to America? It's retarded not to think that happened. I mean, I point out the fact was years ago, there was a woman, I don't know if you remember, her name was Sarah Palin, when they were running against Obama.
Oh, yeah.
John McCain and a woman.
She was from Alaska.
And she was from Alaska.
Yeah.
And she made a comment, they made fun of her because they said something about Russia. And she was like, well, I can see Russia from my house, you know, and this and that. And they all like made fun of her. But think about it. You could see Russia from Alaska. So why are we still sticking with this, you know, Columbus in 1492 finally made it here and nobody knew about the Russians and them were clearly here already. I mean, we're still right next to each other. America bought Alaska from the Romanovs in I don't know, the 1800s or the 1700s. I can't remember the exact date, but America bought that from Russia. So come on, how could we not say that the Russian Empire wasn't here? Tartaria was definitely here. So is that what happened? Is that what 1776 really is that nobody's figured out and is talking about? Was that the conquering of the Tartarian, you know, them taking over what the Tartarians had, you know, and bringing it into their Catholic, you know, Roman Catholic control. That's what I think it really happened in 1776.
Yeah, that's very
and what they're talking about.
Jeez.
And what happened to Tartaria, you know.
Yeah. It's a
I
big
suggest
topic
people
now, man.
look into flamenco. You guys, you know, and if people really want, I shouldn't say this, but email me and I'll give you the stuff for free. I mean, I just want people to have this knowledge, you know. I give people stuff, these books and PDFs and stuff for free so you can read it for yourself if you can't afford it. Of course, I suggest you buy like Fritz Sprigmeyer's book or flamenco, but you know, some people can't. And if you can't, I will give it to you for free just because I want you to read it for yourself, you know. And flamenco, I think a lot of people should start looking into that book. You're going to find a lot of great stuff. You know, the one that I've mentioned to you guys, and I love to point out, is they added 1,000 years in. The Roman Catholic Church added 1,000 years into the dating recently. Flamenco and them have great evidence showing coins and stuff where you could clearly see the I and the J. It used to be an I or a J, which represented Jesus, the age of Jesus, and then it would be numbers for the years. Eventually, the Jesuits in the Catholic Church changed that I and a J to a 1 and added 1,000 years into history to throw people off. You can get a lot of that from the flamenco book. Also, the maps, you can get a lot of great stuff from that. I've told people that not that long ago, all the maps were upside down. So again, you know, like I said, everything's inverted and upside down. Even the map we're looking at right now is upside down. That's not what it was, you know. All the maps were upside down not that long ago. You can find a lot of this stuff from the flamenco book. It's really good. They got a lot of evidence. And for Russian history, you know,
Yeah, I've heard about
that's
that
where
stuff,
I'm
man.
learning a lot from them. From that, like I didn't know about revolt. They called it like some peasant revolt in 1775. But when you start looking into that, that's when you realize that's when Tartaria ended. Tartaria ended in 1775. So I just find it again, 1776, Bavarian Illuminati,
Pretty close.
American Revolution,
Yeah.
Napoleon, everybody rebelling, and all of them with the hidden hand, a Jesuit symbol. You know, it seems like I said, the Jesuits just recently have gone out, conquered, retook things, and created their, you know, their stories where they made everything. You know, everything is done by them to them. But
boy, all right. Well, we'll get deep into the Jesuits when you come back with Johnny, man. Because yeah, that's Vinny's going deep there, man. Very much so.
And John will do a better job. He'll give you the names and dates better than I could, you know, because that's what Johnny does every day.
Yeah.
It's like Dave Weiss with Flat Earth. You know what I mean? I'm a Flat Earther way longer than Dave Weiss, you know? But Dave Weiss, that's all he does, right? Every day. So, you know, you'll get a better show. He's quicker with the names. He's on top of,
yeah,
you know,
he's
something
deep
that
on
comes out today, he's already on it, you know?
Yeah,
Where,
I've seen.
You know, I'm on so many different things. I'm working with so many different people. I'm fascinated by so many things.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many secrets for us to find out and great topics to look into.
Yeah, man. So many doors to unlock. You know what I mean? It's like it's almost like getting into that class of like that type of knowledge where you can understand things a bit more. Do you know what I mean? The more you learn, whether you know whether it is real or not, is like obviously you got to take it as it is and understand it to the point where you feel like it is or not, whether you think it's real or not. And from then you can move on, but then you still have an understanding of, oh, people probably look at things in this sort of way. That's why it works. Do you know what I mean? Like you can see the science behind why people would believe in this sort of thing. So I find it interesting anyway, man. So that we always appreciate you coming up. What's funny?
His t-shirt.
Oh,
he's showing the whole t-shirt.
Yeah. Stand up against pietism.
Jeez, that t-shirt, boy. Hey, shout to the Roll Call crew, man. I forgot to shout out the Roll Call crew because we did ask what's people blazing out there. I think Yamar said platinum cookies. Let me see. King Chico's on strawberry train wreck. Robbie Love said Stardog and some road juice. Road juice, right? I had a skit called Road Juice a while ago.
Yeah.
What else? I think that's it there. No one wanted to give up too much. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. What we on? We're blazing on some orange cream, some banana mac, and some Gary Payton. That's it, Gary Payton. You know what I mean? Gary Payton. Oh, your mum's OJ as well. Hey, Vinny, man, we appreciate you coming on each and every time, man. That was, you dropped some more stuff. We got. I took some notes, man. More stuff we got to look into and see what the hell that's about. Some books as well that we got to buy. You know what I mean? You don't know what to do, man. Rewind and take some notes if you missed anything, because it's definitely interesting stuff, man. And we always appreciate you coming on, sharing your knowledge with us, man.
And I'm serious, you know, for your audience, email me if you want. I literally got thousands of books on PDF. I converted them. I've turned things into PDF, so I could literally email people books, and you could like read it from your phone or your computer. You don't need a Kindle or the ebook stuff. I've converted everything.
Wow.
And I just want to help, you know. And
what's your best email contact?
You know,
what's the best email contact that people can get you at?
Vinny DBA Truth. Yes, it used to be Vinny B the Truth, but I've been hacked so many times I have to keep changing it. So sometimes I got to change letters around.
Yeah, man. Do you remember last time?
Now it's Vinny DBA Truth.com. I mean at Gmail.
At Gmail.
Vinny DBA Truth at Gmail. And you know, I'll give you the Fomenko book. I got 21 of Fomenko's books.
Wow.
I got, all the Johnny Cerrucci's books, Fritz Brigmeyer's, books from the 1500s. I got a lot of stuff.
Jeez.
So I want to help. I like networking, and I want the truth to come out. So that's why I want people to help. It's not like, people like us, just like I know you guys are the same way. It's not like we're not doing this to feel like we're better or we're big people. We're doing it because we actually care, and we want to find other people who care, and we want to work together. And like same thing like you guys are doing with me, working to try to learn more.
Yeah.
So I love talking to the audience. There's a lot of people. I even give them my phone numbers. I'm like, call me up. I mean, I talked to a fan for 5 hours the other day.
Wow.
I mean, that's what I do this for, because like I said, going back to the Joker, I really think that most people are very sad and depressed inside. And especially for people like us that know all this information, and you can't talk to your family, you can't talk to most people, right? And you just feel like alone. For a lot of people, like us, we're basically outcasted. We're looked at the crazies, and we can't even talk to our own family and friends. So people feel lonely, and that's one of the things I notice a lot. And that's why I love to reach out to people and like, hey, you're not alone. Let's talk, so, anybody in the audience, feel free. You talk to me about anything, and I'll do anything I can to help out.
That's
Good.
love,
That's nice,
man.
yeah.
Big up Vinnie B, man. Let's see some fire emojis for our brother Vinnie B from the Bronx right there, man. Dropping some gems on us
And your
tonight.
show too, man. I love you guys, for real. I love your show, the vibe.
Likewise, brother, man.
Even like I said, Clint Richardson was like, man, that was a great vibe. I'm like, yo, I told you, man.
Oh, wicked.
Like, I really, I love your show. That's why I want to do anything I can to help. And
I appreciate it, man.
I think you should have a huge show. Everybody should be.
Thank you, bro.
This is a real show. You guys do your homework. You're actually real. You actually care. It's not just an act. It's very apparent to me.
No, man. We find it interesting, man. So and I think like the other thing for us as well is like because we're made to feel like you should feel awkward about talking about these subjects, or you're one of those, we're trying to break that shell. It's like, no, you don't have to feel weird about it. You can just take it in and go, oh, okay, so this is how you see the world, or this is how you understand it. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I'll for me to fully know that I don't agree, I have to know everything about that subject. Otherwise, I'm just disagreeing off of my own, you know what I mean, what I feel. And I think that's a massive problem as to why we're in the state we're in with this world, is because people don't really know how to think. We got to learn how to think as opposed to just what to think, you know what I mean? But yeah, appreciate you every time, man, Vinnie B, man. Yeah, you see it there. Well, shout out to all the common sensors. Alan Steven, you're more cheesy. Who else we have? Lawrence Limburger, Mr. Green, everyone in the chat room, King Chico, MC Shopping Center.
Good name.
I love it. Yeah, it's a good name, man. MC Shopping Center, Shout out to Gematria Wombat. Vinny, you into Gematria?
Yeah. I was actually just getting into it with someone today about did you hear about that rapper who just got killed over a dice game they're talking about? That's the big story now here in America.
Yeah, Takeoff from Migos. Yeah, rest in peace. Yeah, so it happened on Halloween, innit? Yeah.
And right away, I start pointing out to the gematria involved in it, and how it's totally connected to the Jesuits and the gematria. Yeah, I think the gematria is real. It's the language that they're using. Which, I know it's Jewish, right? It's a Jewish language, but that's what the elite are all into. They're all into this. Just like for all you people in the UK who know about William Cooper, if you never heard, go look into his thing where he talks about British Israel. What is it called? The Benign Society, the British Israelism. To really learn a lot about this whole mixing of Jewish these people being Jewish. Like I've said before, it's not that they're trying to be Jewish, it's they're into the Jewish magic. You know, that's what they're really into, is that power. It's not that they're actually the Jews.
Okay.
They're just, you know, really into that power and that stuff. So
all right, that's another show right there. Shout out to Camo 12336. Yes, big up to the Aussie crew, man, locked in as well. That's nice to see, man. I guess because we're going into them after hours as well, we get some of the Aussie peeps come lock in. That's really nice to see, man. I'll be back out there one day. I'll tell you that. Mate. Go back out there for another one, mate. Yo, big up all the crew that were locked in, man. Big up to Gleam each and every time. Shout to Brian Fraze. Did I say that right? Fraze. I hope I said that right, man. You know what I mean? Pronunciation.
Yeah, it looked a bit.
My speech impediment.
It's a bit French.
You know, that's people that excuse when they can't really talk properly. I got a speech impediment. It's like, nah, bruv, you just can't articulate your shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yo, thank you very much for locking in. Yo, Vinnie B, man, appreciate you, bruv. I'm going to hit you up.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
We'll catch up, man. I wouldn't mind some of their books. I wouldn't mind some of their books, man. So I'll send you my email and that. So definitely.
Yeah, man. Definitely. And we'll talk about, you know, the Johnny. I'll set up something for me and Johnny, for Johnny to come.
Yeah.
So we could have that debate with Dan. You'll have fun with that. We'll have a good show with that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward
to
that.
But I wanted to save Johnny, because Johnny's will give you the names, the dates, you know, do it better.
Yeah.
So, and then, hey, maybe, you know, if you want, I'll try to get Jerry on here one day, or someone else.
Yeah, that would be dope. Yeah, that would be. We'll definitely get prepped for that one. I have to prepare myself for that one. Big up to Gleam, man. Check Gleam out. Gleam said Kabbalah equals Marvel Universe. That's why I love these lot, man. The common senses. Each and every week right here, mother lovers. That's right. You know what we're doing right now, man. It's time to go. It's a school night, so we know you lot. Some of you lot got work in the morning. You know, Vinny's good though. He's got evening now set. You know what I mean? He can relax. Shout out to everyone that was locked in. We'll be back next week, of course. What else was I gonna say? There's something else. Oh yeah, please check out the man, how can I forget, man? Smellington Piff. The album, I'm trying to remember the name of the album. It's called Roma Supreme. That's it. I feature on a track called I can't remember what the track's called actually. But I feature on the album Roma Supreme. So make sure you go and check that out. It's out on RLD Recordings. Yeah, RLD Recordings. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's the blazing, isn't it? Yeah, you know how it is though, man. You know what I mean?
You need some indica.
Yeah, nah. Yeah, you messed up.
Nah.
I need some sativa. See? You're still learning.
You need some CBD. No, is that wrong?
Yeah,
No.
I mean, CBD might balance me out. Yeah, you're right. But I'll hit this vape. I got some...
you need some Delta 9.
This is Delta 9,
right.
AK-47.
Okay.
You know what I mean? On that note, you know what we're about, mother lovers. That was Vinny. What you got there, Vinny?
I got my big
Yeah. Yeah. On that note, then, you know what we're about. I'll turn this mother lover on. That was Vinny B. I'm MysDiggi. That's Dan DNA. Some shit you might not never know nothing about. I'm gonna press this vape pen right here, and guess what, mother lovers? We're out.